Last night was absolutely crazy. Elon Musk files his lawsuit against Media Matters, an organization that seeks to simply lie about and destroy people's private businesses because they disagree politically. And then Truth Social filed a lawsuit against 20 different media outlets for a coordinated defamation scheme where all of these outlets falsely claimed that Truth Social lost $73 million. Now, the crazy thing is, apparently they're all citing an SEC filing that never says this. So it's going to get really, really interesting. But here's where it gets interesting even more so. This morning when I wake up and I say, okay, let's take a look at where we're at with this Elon Musk story. There's a new story. It's weird. It's actually an old story from about a month and a half ago about a man who is suing Elon Musk, a Jewish man. Strangely, when you Google search Elon Musk now, the news you get is not that he's suing Media Matters. It is not the story explaining how X and Elon Musk claim Media Matters defrauded people. It's actually a story from a month and a half ago about Elon Musk being sued by a Jewish man for being anti-Semitic. Now, why would all of these different news outlets run an old story at the exact same time? My friends, it would seem that the war for the internet is on, and it's going to get particularly crazy moving forward, but there's a lot happening behind the scenes. We'll talk about this. We've got a bunch of stories about actors, celebrities, actresses getting fired over their statements about Israel and Palestine. So cancel culture is coming for them too. We'll talk about all that. But before we get started, my friends, head over to castbrew.com to buy the best cup of coffee you've ever had. The Re-Rise with Roberto Jr. Halloween limited edition zombie blend is still up. And once it's gone for good. But of course, you can get the Appalachian Nights and Rise with Roberto Jr., the two favorites. When you buy Cast Brew coffee, not only are you getting the best cup of coffee you'll ever have, you're actually helping us support our endeavor to build physical locations where people can get together and hang out and share ideas. And I think that is going to be really important in winning the culture war. So that's why we do it. We got whole bean, we got ground, we got K-Cups, castbrew.com, but also head over to timcast.com. Click join us, become a member to help support our work directly, and you will get access to our uncensored members only show coming up tonight at about 10 p.m., as well as our Discord server and all of our awesome content, including our latest documentaries like Infringed from Lauren Southern. Definitely check it out. And I do have big news. Timcast News no longer exists. That's right. SCNR has now officially launched scanner.com. And that's where you will find all of the great work from our journalists. Field reporting now exists at scnr.com. We are going to be doing really, really great things over there as well. So I'm super excited for that. So smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Joining us tonight to talk about this and a whole lot more, we got the Harmon brothers of Angel Studios. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Neil Harmon, co-founder and CEO of Angel Studios. Glad to be here, Tim.
Well, thanks for coming in.
Jeff Harmon, co-founder and chief content officer. And we're excited to be here.
You guys did, of course, you were behind Sound of Freedom, which was a massive success. And what was you had a documentary that just came out recently, which
After Death.
After Death, and now you have The Shift coming out. In like a week, week and a half?
1. Yeah.
December 1. It looks really good. I'm really excited for it. We have a clip, and it's great. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't want to say too much. I'd rather just play it later. But it's looking awesome, man. You guys are killing it, and I'm glad to see. Look, as we're talking about Elon Musk fighting this big battle, all of these stories are stories of us storming the battlefield, taking the field, taking the center stage, and winning. These are all tremendous victories. So it's super exciting to hear. This will be a lot of fun talking to you guys about this. And so thanks for hanging out. We got Hannah Claire hanging out.
Hi, I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I was a writer at Timcast News, but now I'm a writer at Scanner. And Ian's here.
Hi, everyone. Ian Cross. And Tim, I love you, man. And I really appreciate your attention to detail, because picking up on this Elon Musk, the multiple outlets running this weird muddying the waters thing, I don't know that a lot of humans would pick up those kind of patterns. So I really appreciate your brain, man. Thanks for doing it.
It's like you Google search the story you want to cross-reference the different stories and check their sources, and you don't find it. You find a different story. We'll talk about it.
Yes,
We got Serge hanging out.
Yes, I'm here, Serge.com. Ready whenever you are, Tim.
I do want to make one quick mention. If you go to the Cast Brew Coffee account on Twitter /X, we got a Black Friday code. It's BLKFRI23. And you can get buy one, get one with a bunch of different blends and a bunch of different types of coffee that we got. So pick that up this week. And I'm going to just want to mention Thursday and Friday, we are not here. Why? Because we're doing what everyone should be doing, hanging out with our families. So tomorrow will be the last show of the week. But that being said, we can now just jump into the big news here. Big news. There's Angel Studios right there. Let's get to it. We have this from Wired. Elon Musk's Media Matters lawsuit will have a chilling effect. Musk has filed his thermonuclear suit against Media Matters for America at the same time the Texas AG launched an investigation into the nonprofit. Now, this we saw yesterday. Of course, there's a bunch of updates today. It's slowly moving. I think the fact that the AG is going for criminal charges against these organizations is particularly interesting. But here's what was interesting this morning. And this is something I don't see a lot of people writing up just yet, but it's something that must be covered. Google search Elon Musk and click news. And what do you get? Well, what's the biggest story? I mean, this is a massive lawsuit. You've got a massive boycott. X is being slammed by major advertisers to the tune of tens of millions of dollars. But, you know, that story falls to second stage. The top story right now is far-right conspiracy theorist accused 22-year-old Jewish man of being a neo-Nazi. Then Elon Musk got involved. Aspiring lawyer sues Elon Musk. Jewish student sues Elon Musk. All of a sudden, all of these different outlets, a bunch of different outlets, start running a story instead that Elon Musk is being sued for. This is the crazy thing about this story. Let me show you this. CNN runs this. This is last night at 10:12 p.m. It was updated. That's a couple hours after he launches the story. Now, news that this dude was suing Elon Musk is from, I believe, mid-October or early October. Here's what they write. Ben Brody says his life was going fine. He had just finished college, stayed out of trouble, and was prepping for law school. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, Elon Musk uses his considerable social media clout to amplify an online mob's misguided rant, accusing the 22-year-old from California of being an undercover agent in a neo-Nazi group. That's completely false. That's actually very, very false. Elon Musk replied to someone vaguely referencing a guy who was in college and wanted to work for the government, and no one accused the individual of being an undercover agent in a neo-Nazi group. They accused these people, all of them, of being undercover agents, period, in a fake Nazi group. Now, whatever. What I can say is, define coordinated, I suppose. When a bunch of media outlets all run this story and it shoves down the big news and covers it up, it's kind of like every time, what was the thing that was happening every time Hunter Biden, was caught doing something? Aliens were proven to exist.
Yeah, I mean, just this week, they an example of this is like he launches the rocket, the Starship. He gets up, the largest spacecraft in history, makes the separation successfully and gets into space. And I try to look up the news, and it's all like, Elon Musk fails with rocket because it blows up, or
Lies.
Yeah, it's just straight up false. It's one of the most successful moments in history.
So
and all the headlines are he failed.
They're all lies. This was the first launch, or it wasn't the first launch. SpaceX launched something a year ago or whatever.
Yeah.
All the media reports, shocking failure, rocket explodes. SpaceX intentionally blew it up.
Yep.
They were doing the launch to collect data. So SpaceX launches Starship. They did the exact same thing. They launched it to collect data because they have to build a rocket. How do you do it? Well, you have to build prototypes, try them, see where they fail, collect the data, and then the safety measure is you blow them up.
Yep.
And the media reports that he's a failure. It's not working. This is crazy.
And then at the same time, this whole entire anti-Semitic thing comes out.
Mm-hmm. Or they're covering his custody battle with Grimes a lot right now.
Yeah.
Paint him as
Yeah,
this
it's just like
terrible,
endless.
immoral person.
The last time you had us here, it was a Fabian Martin story about Sound of Freedom. The financier of Sound of Freedom was a sex trafficker, and it was a guy who was totally exonerated later on, but he was all over the press, and his face was everywhere, and they were trying to take that film down.
It was also like one of 100,000 investors, I believe, wasn't it?
Yeah. He's one of thousands
And he
of
was
investors.
like a landlord.
$50.
Wow.
He gets accused of an accessory to kidnapping, and then the judge was like, I don't know how you're an accessory to kidnapping because there's no even charge for kidnapping. But somebody went into the theater, screenshotted all the investor names because that's the only place you can get them, then digitized them.
Wow.
Then cross-checked them across all the local criminal databases to find one guy who had been accused of a kidnapping. And then the headline is financier, $50 investor of thousands, of Sound of Freedom arrested for kidnapping children. Mm-hmm. I'm in London. I have my Angel shirt on. I'm at this TSA security in London. I don't know what they call it there. And one of the security guys comes up and says, "Oh, I have tickets to your movie." And he's like, "Are you the producer?" And I was like, "Oh, no, I'm not the producer. I'm a distributor." He's like, "Oh, good." Because the producer apparently is like a kidnapping kids.
Well, now they're going after Tim Ballard with all these stories, which sound completely insane. But I got to tell you, man.
But you get like what's happening here is very common.
So what did you do personally, and what do you advise people to do when the media does run stuff like that?
There was a really wise one of the executive producers on one of the films that was coming up. He's in his 90s, very successful businessman, and he just called and said, "Guys, when everybody's shooting at you, get in the foxhole, or else you'll get shot."
Well, there you go.
So don't make noise, basically. Stay calm and keep.
I don't know though. You look how look what the media does. They say the best defense is a good offense. When Elon Musk goes after Media Matters and is exposing what I believe expands the government collusion narrative in the censorship industrial complex, we've got the releases from the Republican Party. We know about the releases from the Twitter files. Now Elon Musk is going after Media Matters, and they're saying they have data, hard proof that Media Matters fabricated the claims against them to try and get advertisers to pull out. What does the media do? Immediately launch a totally different story to attack Elon Musk to drown it out.
Yep.
So I'm kind of wondering if perhaps in World War I style trench combat, you're getting shot at, you get down.
That's a good point.
But perhaps in the world of PR and media, what Elon Musk needs to do is layer on another story immediately. Now, the issue, of course, is will the press even cover it?
Yeah. Or will they let the search terms be accurate, right?
And here's the thing. I think it's probably Google. Look, why are people writing in this story? I think it's very weird that CNN chose to write a month-and-a-half old story and just publish it right now with vague and misleading language. What do we call that? We call that malinformation. Mm-hmm. It's technically the truth, but it's not actually what's going on. And then other outlets pick it up because this is what they do. Google knows, put this on top. So when it appears at the top of Google, when you search for Elon Musk, I think it's a big tech play. And I think big tech is colluding with the government because we've already seen hard proof they've been doing it.
Or that the advertisers are coordinating and they all advertise on Alphabet and on whatever companies are posting this CNN, and all these people are getting that same ad money that pulled out of Twitter, and they're working. I don't know if they're just bystanders in this or if they're complicit.
I think it's difficult for people as an individual to combat the tech giants, and especially anyone controlling a search engine if they want to. I mean, I'm gonna reference Taylor Swift. I know you guys were all waiting for it, but when she started dating Travis Kelce, she went to a New York Jets game. Before that, when you Google Taylor Swift Jet, it talked about all of these articles from 2 years before talking about her carbon footprint and how bad it was. And people thought she has engineered this relationship to get to this game, so it completely changes what shows up when you Google these terms. I mean, the challenge here is that Elon Musk is now up against the people who want CNN's article to be at the front. So even if he were able to get some big headline, he had sympathetic journalists take on his story, cover it accurately, it doesn't mean that the search term, the way the algorithms work out will be evenly applied to him. Do you get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I think I like your metaphor about get down, duck, and cover when the incoming enemy fire is happening. And this is like when people are writing crappy articles about you, like don't make noise because you're going to look guilty. But that's important why you have allies to fire on the position that's attacking your foxhole to lighten the fire.
Yeah,
so
that's right. That's right.
And that's our job essentially right now is what we're doing is we're exposing this weird algorithm.
These people are evil. That's it. I mean, Twitter and Facebook running backdoors, allowing the government to come in and basically get content removed. It's unconstitutional.
It's just like deep corruption.
Deep corruption. It is pure corruption, and it is overt evil. These people are doing it for personal gain. That's just it.
Man, we were talking about free speech. I interviewed Josie, the redheaded libertarian, today on my YouTube channel. We were talking about free speech and how like the ability for a private company just to shut off a bunch of people's ability to communicate, or the way certain aspects of my communication with you might not show up. Like we wrote a constitution and fought a revolution to avoid that from happening. We had the king pressing down on our necks collectively and disallowing us from speaking out in public. No more, never again. That was the point.
But this also happens with companies that control banks, right? I mean, PayPal can say, I don't like what you're talking about online. You can no longer use our service, which makes it actually difficult to do a lot of business interfacing. This is true of MailChimp. This is true of a ton of different companies that decide we don't want to be associated with you because we have a vague terms of service.
And that's like the next level is when it's transactions. That is the next level. Like that's the deeper level below free speech. That's the foundation. If you don't have the freedom to transact. Then you're like, what can you do?
I just think
it's like the truckers in Canada. They just shut them down.
I just think we're winning across the board in every way. I mean, we got a super chat a moment ago, and they were like, how could the Democrats even put someone else on the primary ballot because it's too late in several states? Biden can't win. The dude's completely out of his mind. He's losing support among the Hollywood elites. Michael Rappaport says he's going to vote for Trump, or he's considering voting for Trump. I mean, this is crazy. Elon Musk filing the lawsuit, everybody's going on offense. And I can tell you this too, ladies and gentlemen, I can't say too much because in legal issues, you got to keep things pretty quiet until you make your moves, but there is so much more happening behind the scenes. I'll just put it this way. Many phone calls have been happening. And there's a lot of prominent individuals who are like, this is war. There was a post recently where someone suggested that any prominent influencer on Twitter should file an amicus brief or join the lawsuit Elon Musk is filing. Because guess what, everybody? You know that money you were making on Twitter?
Oh, wow.
It's gone. It's all gone. So when I was getting $2,000 to $3,000 every 2 weeks, maybe about $5,000 a month, gone. So Media Matters did not just smear and defame Elon Musk's platform,
It's huge
but it's
damages.
stripping revenue from everybody through
Huge
fraudulent
damages.
means.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot more than that. So
Yeah, Media Matters is the worst.
We're still spending a lot with X.
How's it been?
That's good, yeah.
How's the engagement been?
Well,
It's great.
This is interesting. With Sound of Freedom was the first time that, and this is within months after, a very short time after Elon acquired Twitter, is that our main investors, GigaFund, that's invested in SpaceX, invested in a whole bunch of Elon companies. They called us and they were like, "Hey, how can we improve the system?" So they're working very hard to improve the Twitter advertising system, and it's working. Like Twitter has not had a competitive leg that even comes close to competing with Facebook for targeted ads and direct response ever. And now they're starting to compete. Like advertisers need to be aware it's worth taking time to invest in Twitter now.
Right.
Part of the reason why Sound of Freedom was successful was because Twitter figured out how to make ads work, and they're getting better and they're getting better and better. And so I think that this Twitter just has to survive the dip, and then they'll climb back out of it because they're actually innovating. They're actually making changes, and they're listening to the audience and the customers. And so for us, we spend where it works. And I think that if we can do it, I mean, we're known, Harmon Brothers, known for doing Poopery, Squatty Potty, Purple Mattress, Lumi Deodorant, these billion-dollar CPG companies and mattress companies, and these, like this, I can tell you, Twitter is starting to figure it out.
we're going to be doing a big ad push in the beginning of next year. We're already doing big ads for Infringed, our latest documentary by Lauren Southern and John Dutois. And when they announced they were pulling out, it was Seth Dillon who started the cascade saying, we're going to commit $250K. I said, I'm on board. And it's just the easiest marketing play in the world. Join in the fun, everybody. By announcing we're doing an ad buy, we get 10 times the press from the ad buy. So like, let me just stress, I want to buy ads on X. We did. We were already buying ads. We created a $50,000 budget for Infringed and launched that campaign. And we are having some issues, so I need someone from Twitter's help. But
we can make some connections.
Yeah, that'd be great. Because I don't know, I something weird's happening in the back end, but I digress. So when Seth Dillon's like, hey, we're gonna do this thing, I was like, well, we're already advertising on X. We already want to do more. Let me just announce that I too will be doing this and join their efforts.
That's exactly right.
And then I get articles written about me. So standing up for what I believe in results in 10 times the press we would have gotten just off the ad campaign alone. The tweet announcing the ad campaign got 7,000 retweets. So it's just the marketing writes itself. You know, this idea I had a long time ago. Marketing should do something good. It reminds me of that movie Hancock, where Jason Bateman's character is like, everyone puts the heart on their brand. I'm like, well, that's kind of dumb. My idea was companies should compete with how much they can accomplish ideologically in alignment with their values. So, for instance, instead of spending $50 million doing this nationwide campaign where you hire a celebrity to throw a football, you spend $50 million investing in roads, schools, or, veterans, like helping veterans or nonprofits. And then instead of doing this big commercial where a celebrity throws a football, you just do a commercial where it's a guy standing in front of like a VA saying, instead of spending $50 million on throwing a football, we just gave it to wounded veterans to help those. And I'm like, that's the kind of marketing we should be doing, competing with each other to do the most good. So I'm like, if I can buy ads to promote Timcast.com and the projects we're doing, and it has the added benefit of winning the culture war, man, I'll spend all my money. Let's roll.
You make me
Let's
think
get
of
it done.
Mr. Beast. He'll actually
Right.
take cameras in and show the people crying with joy from tasting fresh water for the first time in their lives and things. And you may argue it's exploiting the people that are getting the video taken of them,
He's
but
giving away wells.
And they attacked him for it. The media came after him.
Well, he's an oppressive figure trying to help people. It's
I can
crazy.
guarantee he's anything but. And you should watch his video where he brings 100 wells to people that are starving of fresh water, essentially dying, having distended stomachs, and these little kids. This fly is driving me nuts. Are you guys watching?
It's attacking
same
everybody.
thing.
Anyone that starts to talk, it's like I feel like
It's a hostile
It
work
goes
environment.
straight to the speaker.
holy crap. I just swatted and didn't squeeze. I had like some sympathy for
What
the
if we just
thing.
open
Not
the
next
door and
time.
cross our fingers that he leaves?
Yeah, I'll do that.
There you go. Yeah, the fly's attacking everybody.
Fun while it lasted, fly.
Well, he's gone.
Buzz off.
What were you saying, Ian? Before
Awesome thing. Oh, about Mr. Beast. He was just showing video of these kids, and I mean, if you've ever spent time with kids in like in an impoverished nation, and you see them, the kids that drink poop water, basically the same river water that they drink out of, they poop into. It's sad because their stomachs are fat and bloated. I saw it in South America when I was in Peru, and they're so happy people because they didn't know, but once they found out, they were livid, and it's just to be able to help people, children especially.
I want to jump to this story before we get into movie stuff. We got this from the Hollywood Reporter. We got a couple stories, actually. Melissa Barrera dropped from Scream 7 after social media posts amid Israel-Hamas war. This is really funny. She led both 2022's Scream and the 6th installment released earlier this year. And she basically said it's genocide, it's ethnic cleansing. Gaza is currently being treated like a concentration camp. Spyglass, the company behind the Scream franchise, had no comment, and they gave her the boot. We also got this from SCNR.com. Susan Sarandon dropped by talent agency for anti-Semitic comment. She's getting roasted heavily after she was at a rally and she made a bunch of comments, pro-Palestinian rally. And then I think we have another one here. This one's not as important as the Hollywood celebrities. United Airline pilot removed from service over pro-Hamas posts. So keeping it, I wanted to highlight that in terms of the cancel culture. I don't agree with these people being fired for having bad opinions. I also don't care. I'm not going to come to their defense, and I'm just going to laugh as the door hits their ass on the way out. Because too many of these people absolutely are anti-free speech. Too many of these people in New York, these far-left groups, have been waging a war on free speech. But that being said, I do think we should be careful. And maybe this Melissa Barrera, I don't know what she's all about. Maybe she believes in free speech. So I'm gonna look into them. And if they're in favor of free speech, I'll defend their free speech. If not, sorry. But what we're seeing is, look, the old guard is in free fall.
Yeah.
Hollywood, the actors, they're split where their talent are ideologically at odds with their institutions. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you who's right or who's wrong. We can have a Palestine-Israel discussion later. I'm just pointing out they're starting to fire people. The industry is not doing so well. In the meantime, seems like independent media is just skyrocketing. I mean, a few years ago, if I would have talked about The Sound of Freedom, people would not have believed me. If I would have said there's going to be a new studio, they're going to launch a movie, it's going to defy all expectations, crack into the top of the box office, $200 million?
250.
$250 million. People would be like, what? Dude, you can't beat Hollywood. And now Hollywood's dying. I mean, $1 billion loss for Disney? How you guys doing?
Is Sound of Freedom still in theaters?
It is around the world.
It is throughout the world, but in the U.S., we just had the last day in the theaters. It was last Friday or Thursday.
Yeah.
Anyway, it went for like 127 days in the U.S. theaters.
It's on it's on Amazon.
Yes.
What new releases is like the second one right there.
Yeah, it was in the
Amazing.
top 25 most pre-ordered movies of all time on Apple.
It's amazing. I mean, it is. You can really see a shift in focus, and groups that once had a very tight camaraderie are now splitting apart. There's this poll from Gallup that came out, I think, today, saying that Biden has lost 11 points in support in 1 month among Democrats, among people who would theoretically be completely behind him. So if you can see it shifting in the political discourse, it's obviously happening in the cultural discourse. There's going to be fallout from the fact that people are looking at each other and say, I won't even talk to you. I won't work with you. I cannot be around you if you express these opinions.
That's crazy.
I think the kids, people that just see things for what they are like the diversity for the sake of diversity. It was tried in like 2021 pretty heavily, and then it was obvious that like if you're not casting the best person, regardless of what they look like, you're not making the best movie. I mean, looks are somewhat important, but I think talent seeps through. You see it in the eyeballs. Yeah, the best person for the character, whatever that means. So, and now it's becoming obvious, and it's showing in the budgets. Like Disney just launched the worst Marvel movie of all time.
That's right,
financially, and they did really poor in the movie before that.
Like let's think about this. It's a good point. The Marvels, right? It's the MCU. It's got 3 female leads and a female villain lead. That what was their budget? $300 million, I think, and it hits the opening weekend with 46.1 million, the lowest box office of all time. Now I assume it'll make some money somehow, but I kind of feel like this one's dead in the water. It is crazy to see the behemoth of the MCU decide to get woke and then go broke.
Well, they was it the reviewer, the drunk reviewer? What's his name? Drinking.
I hope his name's just
Aussie?
the drunk reviewer.
the drunk
That's
Austin?
way better.
Yeah,
Australian dude,
yeah.
the drunken Aussie movie. Yeah, I know who
I
you're
don't know.
talking about.
He's a reviewer. I know who I'm talking. Sorry, I it doesn't matter what.
Chad will figure it out.
He was saying that that Disney was required by contract to make
Critical
this movie.
drinker.
Yeah, critical. Yeah,
Okay.
critical drinker.
They were required by contract to make this movie.
Yeah, that they didn't have a choice when they signed an agreement to make this movie a long time ago, and they tried to wiggle out and they tried to get out, and they were forced basically through their contracts to finish it out. And he's like, and it shows. There's no passion.
It's the shortest movie they've done. People are mentioning that it really looked like they were just trying to get rid of it.
Yeah, because they had to make it. They signed the agreements a long time
You know
ago.
what I think happened? I think this is maybe like 8 years ago. Man, it's been that long. Like when they were doing Avengers Infinity War, they needed to get Brie Larson in it because they were like, Captain Marvel will be the new Iron Man.
Yeah, and so she signed a deal for so many films.
And then she appears in a bunch of commercials. Everyone despises her. She's snooty. She's mean. She goes on social media and she posts this really awful, nasty stuff. And then they're just like, we need to get rid of her. And she's cost them so much money. Here's the funny thing. Cancel culture, right? They're firing these actors and actresses. And you know why they're doing it? Because they're like, we are going to lose so much money because this woman went on Twitter and started calling Israel genociders and all this stuff. Again, not here to make an argument about Israel-Palestine. They're looking at how much money they're going to lose because of it. And I get it. And that's a tough issue. But understand this. So it was just the other day when we had Danny Polishchuk on. He made the excellent joke of, as soon as Elon Musk bought Twitter, everybody just went, there are 2 genders. But hold on. Like, it's funny because if you really think about it, isn't it absolutely insane that before Elon acquired Twitter, if you said men are not women, you would get banned? No question. Megan Murphy, she's a writer and an activist. She tweeted, men aren't women, though. She didn't insult anybody. They banned her. For 4 years, she was banned. Until finally, I think it was because of Elon Musk, she gets brought back. We actually lived in that world where you could not go on a major social media platform and say boys are boys and girls are girls. But now, where are we? Well, what was happening back then is companies were genuinely terrified. Dave Rubin had...
I don't think Sound of Freedom would have been as successful as... I don't think it would have hit escape velocity without Twitter.
They would have suspended you guys in 2 seconds. They would have made up a reason.
We could have brute forced ourselves maybe to 80 million just through marketing. But the amount that it takes to get up to 250 million requires you to hit escape velocity. And without Twitter was the only social platform where we were trending #1 after it launched over and over and over again. All the rest of them, it's just not there.
Did you have a plan for Twitter when you were launching? Like, did you go in knowing that Twitter was going to be a resource, or was that organic?
We actually, that is why we got into advertising on Twitter, is because now Elon owned Twitter, and we were like, we can actually trust they're not going to mess with this.
We could see
movement.
when we were advertising the Sound of Freedom trailer, because of our advertising career, like the number for the views and the number of shares that the videos got and the amount of activity, it just didn't match. Like nobody would comment, nobody would like, but they were being shared like crazy.
So you post your video, people resharing it like extremely high rate, super viral trailer on Facebook. The second generation shares have no comments. You can just go through.
They're fake.
So the first one, no, they're sharing. Everybody's sharing it, but they're sharing it into the void.
Right, right.
They think I'm just sharing the video. I'm excited I shared it, and then no one sees it.
Right.
No one comments on it. And so the reshares, the second generation is where the trick happens on these other social platforms is you post it and a whole bunch of people reshare it and you go, oh, my video is doing really well. But then you go dig into the reshares and they're not getting comments. They're not getting any engagement.
They die.
I think that
Interesting.
Facebook should alter their advertising scheme so that if you share an advertised post, it's still going to get advertising pressure on your reshare.
Yes, I agree with that. Yeah. Reshares should be promoted.
So with X, I think let me go back in time actually. I knew these guys that were investigating advertising systems on big tech companies, and they were saying at least half of all of the buys you purchases are fake. When you say I'm going to put $1,000 in ads towards this video, and then you get, let's say, 100,000 views, 50,000 are fake, fabricated. And so what Elon Musk
Just
is,
bots.
they're just bots.
Yeah.
And so this is great for the
That
big
makes
tech
sense
companies.
with the performance before.
Exactly. But here's what happens.
Because it was awful performance. You couldn't, it was like brand marketing on Twitter. That was the only way to do it.
But then Elon Musk changes everything. And he says you have to, all ads are only going to appear on verified accounts, only count against verified user views. Smartest thing. And no one really talks about it.
It's working.
What Elon Musk was saying to these advertisers is, listen, if you spend $100,000 on that platform, how do you know you're getting real people? With us on Twitter, users only get ads. Ads only display against verified accounts.
So smart.
And so the money is only spent if verified individuals with check marks see the ad. So now when you spend $1,000 and you get 10,000 views, oh, it's so much less. So what? It's real people. You'll see your conversions go up.
Yep.
That's huge.
I wanted to kind of talk a little bit more about Disney and about how the problems
Yes.
that they've been having.
Let's.
We were saying that people are being fired from movies, or I don't know if those Disney movies, but because of their talks about Hamas or Israel or whatever. I'm also concerned that big production companies, Paramount, I don't know, call them out by name if it even matters, but that they have large institutional investors. I don't know if you guys do too. I know their angels are like 100,000 people that all fund the
We
programs
have
together.
a mixture. It's a mixture.
A mixture, okay,
Yeah,
because if
crowd and institution.
if one big institutional guy is like, listen, my family's in Israel and I want only pro-Israel movies and propaganda out there right now, and full stop, then they're going to pull all their money from a company that's trying to make a movie with an actor that's crapping on Israel potentially. And so these investors are deciding the creative flow of the movie industry in that sense, or of that industry. And that's a fail, man. If you can't be as creative as you want with your best actors and your craziest ideas, good luck. How can you compete with people that are doing that? So how do you guys work with the institutional to not get co-opted by the institutional investments?
So the only way to get through Angel is through the Angel Guild. So that those 100,000 people, Jeffrey's the chief content officer. He can't if he loved your show, Ian, that you were sharing with us, he can't take it there unless the Angel Guild sees it first. And they are like they can see whether something has a problem. That's what the wisdom of crowds is.
Yeah.
Is that
Sound of Freedom was watched by 30 plus million people worldwide in theaters because 1,000 Angel Guild members voted for that show.
Yep.
Wow.
So like if a movie got made with an actor that was making these comments about Hamas or something, and then, but the Angel investor, if the Guild was like, we still love it, put it through, there's some dissent. Are there investors that once it gets through, they're like, I'm not going to put money on that one? Is that part of the process?
They have a choice. They have a choice whether they want to invest in a project for sure.
Yeah, it doesn't guarantee that we'll be able to get the film to do a partnership with the film. Like there's still a lot of things that have to happen after the Guild, but we cannot take a film into Angel Studios until it passes the Guild. And so there's 100,000 people. They've invested in different projects. They go on. They become members of the Guild. And then you get to, as a member of the Guild, you get to vote on the stuff that goes to theaters, vote on the stuff that goes on the platform. And if you don't pass it, it doesn't come on Angel.
And is that the threshold? 1,000 people? You said 1,000 people.
1,000
watch it?
is like, it tells statistical significance.
Yeah, statistical significance of the audience.
Yeah. And so you'll have, a few hundred to 1,000 people watching each movie. There's 21 movies submitted a week right now to Angel Studios on average. 21 movies a week. There's 100 plus thousand people going through these movies, voting, then they decide what comes in. And then as a guild member, when you become a member of the guild, it's like an Amazon Prime membership or a Costco membership, you get perks like you get complimentary tickets to every single movie because you're an angel executive. Like,
I was going to say, I like this idea. You know, Ian's concern is one guy can be like, I'm shutting your movie down because I don't like what that person said.
That's impossible.
And exactly. I may disagree with these people cheering Hamas or being critical of Israel to varying degrees. But I do think they have a right to speak their mind. And it is shocking when a studio says they're going to shut them down. So I like the idea that with you guys, one person can't just do it. It has to be a community effort. Mm-hmm. So think about it this way. If you get a lead actor in a film and then he comes out, to do press for it and says a whole bunch of nasty, awful, like really shockingly offensive stuff. And then the community says, we don't want to go forward with this project. That would end the project?
That would.
That's what. Right.
I think that's the way to do it. I'll tell you why. Not all speech is socially acceptable. If there was a guy who went out and started demanding that schools start giving these books to kids, I'm pretty sure a lot of people would be like, no. Like, this is not someone we want to support, right? That crosses a line for something we don't want. By all means, he can go do his own thing, but we're not going to greenlight it. However, it's not one guy. It's a large community that has to come to a statistically significant decision amongst themselves.
Is there ever
decentralization?
Is there a cap on individual investors so that one guy can't come in with $100 million and be like, I want to?
Yeah. So the last investment, I think the cap was 10, or was it 15 last time?
15.
I don't know. $15,000.
I don't remember the
like
last
Oh,
one.
that's very small.
Yeah.
15,000.
Yeah, it was smaller.
I thought you were going to say 15 million. Okay.
No.
The cap. Now the film was made with bigger investors, but once it passed the guild, and then it took on P&A money, which is the way it did the crowd
What's
money.
P&A?
It's prints and advertising. So back in the day, when prints meant you print out a reel of film and ship it to every single theater so that they can play it on their projectors. Prints, and then you print out the movie posters. Those were the prints that cost a lot of money just to get those out to the world. And then advertising is how you promote and make awareness around the film. So currently, like prints are like, a lot of them are done over satellite and a lot of them are done with little hard drives.
Yeah.
You still mail the hard drives?
Yeah, to a lot of them.
Is that just old guard, like not figuring out they can email it yet?
Yeah. Yeah. They don't have great internet maybe.
Or their projectors aren't connected to
These are
the
multi-terabyte
internet.
movies. These are multi-terabyte movies. You have to have really good internet in order to bring down that level of a film. So prints and advertising are the prints are the printing out the posters and that stuff, and then advertising. And the crowd invests in prints and advertising. They did it for Sound of Freedom. They put $5 million to get Sound of Freedom out to the theaters. They put it into After Death. They put it into His Only Son. They put it in The Shift, which is coming out on December 1st. And there's thousands of people helping these movies get off the ground, and they become angel investors. And then once you become an angel investor, you become part of the guild, and you get a vote on the next content that comes in, and you're part of the new gate. You're replacing the gatekeeper model, the old gatekeeper model.
And you're right, Ian.
No, go ahead.
In the traditional system, one studio would cut the check for P&A, and they get to decide. And in this one, we want as many checks as possible because all those people, they're part of the audience. They want to be part of shaping the culture.
They're going to drag all their friends out to the movie.
Yep.
All their relatives.
Right.
Everybody they can get.
I think an important distinction, in the idea of cancel culture. Cancel culture was basically they would dig into your past, find something you said 10 years ago that either is no longer culturally relevant or now is considered unacceptable, and use that to destroy your life. Or in the most egregious example, this race car driver's dad dropped a racial slur in the 80s before he was born. So a sponsor dropped him because of it. I'm like, that's insane. But let's be real. We had that woman on Culture War, and she said I was pro-censorship because I said I don't want these adult books in grade schools. And I'm like, yes, next question. No question whatsoever. It's not this idea that we think everyone should be able to say literally anything in our private spaces or in our industry, or that we have to invest in it. Freedom of speech means you can live your life without government interference. And opposing cancel culture, first and foremost, has to do with our moral basic lines, right? So what happens is the woke left comes out and says, oh, we've hereby decided that this thing is no longer acceptable socially, and you're going to lose your job because of it. Or talking with this person is no longer socially acceptable. And we're like, dude, what are you doing firing this person over this stuff? These people are saying things that aren't even that offensive. Men aren't women, though. and Meghan Murphy gets banned from Twitter for that, that's ridiculous. Now, if someone went on Twitter and literally was advocating for violence or terror or genocide, then we might be like, well, okay, well, now we're getting into dangerous territory. As for like the calls for extreme violence, we've actually had a great conversation on this show about the limits of it. If someone is speaking generally about war and conflict and targeting different groups, we kind of shrug. We're like, look, when they call for death to Russians, Facebook allows that. Now, if someone goes on Twitter and just tells people to, as Ian puts it, imminent threat targeting a group of people, then we say, okay, that's crossing the line. But my view is this. We shouldn't tolerate extremist opinions. We shouldn't have to pay for them and fund them. I think we can allow and agree with on social media platforms a wide range of opinions that we disagree with and don't like to challenge. But there's absolutely a red line for all of us where we're like, nah, like this is too much. And it's like advocating children be exposed to adult content, things like that, probably crossing the line. But the other thing I'll mention too is I'm not here to be the arbiter of morality and tell you where a system like Twitter should determine, or X, where people can and can't say things. My attitude will typically be, let the crazy people say the crazy things so we can know they're saying it. That being said, if an actor came out and was advocating for a whole bunch of really nasty stuff, like grooming kids and things like that, I certainly would not want to be involved in a project with them. And I think that's fair that people would say no to it. The big difference is we're taking back the Overton window where the left said that saying something like we should have immigration controls. Oh, you're canceled, you're fired. That's what's crazy. That's a reasonable thing to say.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I think part of the desire to push the window so far is to obscure the idea of what's right and what's wrong. I think there are a lot of people who I wouldn't agree with politically who would also say, no, I don't want children exposed to sexual content at a young age or inappropriately. But there is another narrative, especially on the progressive left, that says, oh, well, maybe you're oppressing someone by saying those urges are bad or condemning them. They want there to be no hard line, no. And I think they want you to feel more okay with compromising your values. And that's there's no way to maintain a culture if that's also the energy that you're putting out.
When I first went to college, one of my friends, her dad said, you can go to college and keep an open mind, but not so open that your brains fall out.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way of putting it.
We got to jump to this story because, ladies and gentlemen, we're winning. From Naples News, comedian Matt Rife sparks controversy with joke in Netflix special. Is he performing in Florida? Well, I chose this local news outlet for a reason, mostly because it just documents the controversy around comedian Matt Rife. He had a Netflix special where he appeared to mock domestic violence victims. How dare he? I really, really don't care that he did. And here's the best part. Here's from NBC News. Comedian Matt Rife responds to Netflix special backlash with a link to special needs helmets. He made a post and said, for everybody who was offended by my joke, here's a link to my apology. And when you clicked it, it loaded up. I wonder if they have an image of it. I don't think they do. It loaded up a shopping website for special needs helmets for people who are, differently abled, as it were.
Get them, dude.
I'm just saying, shout out to this comedian. But we're starting to win back. See, this is the point about cancel culture. I have almost no problem with the limiting of certain speech. I say almost because we try to be very careful. We want to make sure people have right to express themselves legitimately. But, like people posting adult content is not legitimate expression it's obscene for kids. I think it's fair to say that we're going to be like, no way. This dude made a joke. That's it. Grow up. Have a nice day. Laugh or don't. 5 years ago, this dude would have been fired in 2 seconds. Look at, was it Shane Gillis? Was that the comedian?
Shane got fired from SNL. Like,
what did he do?
A month of getting hired or something.
He did like an accent or something?
No, he had done a joke in the past, it was years ago prior on like an open mic or something like that, where he made fun of Asian Americans and he said that.
Right.
Yeah.
He did an accent.
He's a great impressionist, by the way.
Yeah.
And as an Asian American myself, I thought it was hilarious. And they fired him because of it.
Yep, correct.
We're winning. This story shows we're winning. It's not just about the culture that's being built. It's about it. This dude's 28 and he's got a Netflix special and he's like, don't like my joke? I'm going to double down and insult you even further.
Yeah. Well, and Bill Barr had this joke for a long time about, Bill Burr, sorry. Bill Burr, yeah. I don't know if Bill Barr has ever had a joke in his life, but together. Bill Burr has had this joke where he says, they always say there's never a reason to hit a woman, but, is that true? You could wake me from a drunken stupor and I could give you at least 10 or something like that. Like, that's like alluding to domestic violence, but people laughed. I think he did this joke on some, mainstream late night show. And so it's interesting how it was something people tolerated, and now they're like, new young comedian, you have to fall in line or stop. You know what I mean?
It sounds like the crowd is flailing, and they're like, "Well, my anger that's left over from 5 years ago, stop!" And then he knows, Matt Rife knows, if he gets fired, he's good to go. Like, look at Shane Gillis's career is off the charts right now. He's interfacing with Rogan. Matt Rife's already been on Rogan's podcast once.
Oh, we have defeated the woke beast is flailing. Yeah. Cancel culture is dying. We are succeeding across the board. Hollywood is failing. Cable network news is failing. The corporate press is struggling. Elon Musk has launched this nuclear lawsuit against Media Matters. Truth Social has just sued 20 news organizations. The amount of victories and the expansion of our efforts is just so tremendous right now. Ladies and gentlemen, you got a lot to be thankful for this Thursday.
Although,
let me tell you.
Stay concerned, because it's like they have the power, and I say they kind of vaguely, but to turn off your money. So the whole system is rigged up so that Visa, these central banks, can shut off your access to a bank account and no more U.S. dollars for you. And that's like their atom bomb in the pocket. So we don't want to celebrate like we've won a war or any kind of long-standing. I mean, I think cryptocurrency is fascinating that we have other ways. Bitcoin,
yeah.
Particularly Bitcoin. I mean, I like a lot of just the idea of being able to.
But you guys only like
currency.
Bitcoin?
I'm a bit of a Bitcoin maxi. Yeah.
A lot of my friends are too, and they're like, Bitcoin's up.
I started in Bitcoin 2013, then bought in, and then we made a documentary film called Life on Bitcoin, where this married couple, you can rent it on Amazon and stuff, but it's this couple lives on Bitcoin for 90 days, their first 90 days of their marriage, only Bitcoin in 2013. And then we got into Ethereum and other Litecoin and all the other coins. And I was thinking about it like a technology, where I was like, number 2 is Facebook, or Google came after Microsoft, etc. So the better technology is going to win. And then by a couple of years ago, maybe a few years ago, I started thinking about it more like an economist, where I'm thinking about hard money and what it actually means. And what Bitcoin does well is money. That is the one thing it does well, and it does it better than any of the other cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin is the money. It's the best at it.
Well,
and I switched back.
And we can take a look at El Salvador.
Yes.
That's right.
And it's just like
booming.
booming. It's amazing. I'm just
Bukele brought us down for Sound of Freedom and did like.
He's the first Latin American country and he screened it.
Dude, he knows what's up. That dude's amazing.
Yeah.
And here's a crazy story for you guys. You're gonna love this one. There was an illegal immigrant in the United States who applied for asylum, claiming that he was facing persecution in his home country. His home country was El Salvador. The persecution, he was a gang member that was going to go to jail. So he comes to the U.S. and get this, they release him. And then later we're like, wait. What was the persecution he was? Oh, he's a gang member wanted for crimes. So, okay, we got to arrest him now. That's how crazy things are up here. Mm-hmm. That a guy was like, they're going to arrest me for my group affiliation. What's your group? I'm a gang member.
Well, the U.S. immigration was like, okay, that makes sense. You are oppressed. Like that, they didn't even either they didn't ask or they asked and were like, that does seem hard. I wouldn't want to go to jail either. Yeah. Into the U.S. with you. It's pathetic.
Look, it's going to be so great. Thanksgiving. Everybody who's aligned with freedom, meritocracy, anti-woke, you're going to be sitting there with a smile on your face as your woke relatives are just grumbling and angry. Biden's losing, Hollywood's crumbling, they're losing money, and you can just be like, I don't even need to argue with you. We're on the cusp of victory here.
Do you guys ever take Bitcoin for Angel Studios as currency, or is that too much of a
reserve of Bitcoin?
Yeah, and we have a reserve, and we've also done Bitcoin tipping with Tuttle Twins. There's a whole episode on Bitcoin.
One of our rounds, we took on a $10 million chunk of Bitcoin as a reserve for the company.
Yeah, just as kind of a backup.
You just bought it, just switched cash into Bitcoin.
A fund invested in Angel, and we said we'll take your investment. We'll sell stock for Bitcoin.
How long ago was that?
It's been a while.
Yeah.
So now it's like 100 million or something?
No.
Not
that long ago. It's still in the same.
I mean, Bitcoin's up to what, like 36 right now?
I think it was at 37 today.
Yeah.
37.
It's just going up. I mean, now that what's his name, Javier Milei got elected in Argentina, is talking about switching them over
It's
to
bonkers.
Bitcoin.
Well, yeah, he's first going to go to the dollar, and then his
He
plan
said
is to go to
Bitcoin?
Bitcoin. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
gonna
the dollar's an
he's gonna-
interim.
He's going to do the same thing as Bukele. Those guys are.
Yeah, they're buds.
Buds.
I guess Bukele's coming down there to hang out with him, like for the
Yeah.
inauguration. Bolsonaro's going to be there. Yo, dude,
What
that
a
is
time.
So
Okay.
amazing. I mean, come on, how are people? How could anyone be pessimistic right now? This is just so amazing. I mean, especially with all the stuff you guys are doing. I'm just like,
Milei, I'm a fan of that guy.
oh yeah, afuera.
He's bold.
And I
They'll
think
make
there were a lot
movies
of
about him.
Americans he won over, the day after his
but he
election
won
because they
by
watched
not
him online.
pretending
No.
that he was going to do something different.
Yeah, there was I think it was a 3-person election, and then he and one of the others got the runoff, and the third person, they all voted. Essentially, we're all going to vote for Milei.
I guess
And
they
he's that
announced
well-loved.
within 21 days they will end the Ministry of Diversity, Gender, and Inclusivity or whatever. He's like, out.
And there's some tweet that was like, there's illegal to have a gender now in Argentina. It's like, no, it's illegal to be a terrible bureaucracy that ruins people's lives. It's crazy, I know.
Yeah,
It's not even illegal. He's just shutting down a department.
Yeah.
How dare
you have-
he?
Like that, the department has to exist
Biology
to believe
lives
something.
on.
Exactly. Getting rid of a department doesn't mean you don't like the thing that the department is named.
Yeah.
So sometimes the name isn't even accurate.
I want to
about
get
what
rid
it
of the
does.
Department of Education, but that
Dude.
doesn't mean I don't believe in education.
Right.
Look at Public
You want
Square.
everyone to be illiterate. You're admitting it here now.
You guys like Public Square put out a statement about their revenue. They're making millions. They're expanding. They launched their e-commerce officially. I think it's officially launched, right? The e-commerce on Public Square. I'm just looking at this year has been absolutely fantastic. The 2010s were crazy. Let me stress, you could not say on Twitter, men aren't women. They would ban you for that. Absolutely crazy. Look how far we've come.
And it's cool because we do get on to all kinds of people for saying, the Republicans don't do anything, or like local people just focus on national politics. They don't change anything in their own communities. And I do think you're starting to see the results of people taking initiative and, especially in the case of Public Square, seeing something that was needed and creating it. And I think you guys are similar with the work that you do.
Yeah, I don't know if they take crypto yet. Public Square. That's going to be interesting when that happens. If you took Bitcoin, like to watch a movie, I could pay you in Bitcoin. Would there be like a tax hell unleashed upon the company for taking Bitcoin as payment, or is it past that now, where you can like take it, convert it to cash?
The U.S. treats it as capital gains tax.
Which makes it more
And they just
difficult.
made a new change to where accountants can handle Bitcoin on their balance sheet a lot easier, which is going to help companies
It's going
hold
to make
Bitcoin.
a big difference.
Yeah.
And companies that have huge cash reserves, where we're seeing inflation, like I don't know if you guys have been to the grocery store lately, but things
dude.
are getting freaking expensive.
Insane.
And it's shocking. And I'm not in the lower income brackets, and I'm just can't believe how expensive it is. And so our reserves, our cash reserves as companies, are losing value the longer they sit. So the more cash you have. And so there's going to be a lot more companies coming in and saying, we're going to put a huge chunk of our reserves in Bitcoin.
Dude, I mentioned this the other day. We went to Weiss. I buy these salami packs. We usually have a bunch of them downstairs for everybody to eat. They're $12 a pack now. And it's just like
It actually, that
60
breaks my
pieces of
heart more
salami.
than almost anything else, is seeing food
Little
prices
tiny
go
ones.
up. Because I know, like, we grew up in a family with 9 kids in Idaho, and it was like a tiny income, like $13,000 a year. We came from the very lowest tier, and it breaks my heart to see people who have been saving and working their whole lives just like taking huge steps back because it's theft. It's theft through inflation.
yeah.
The CEO
No, you go.
the CEO of Strike just said that the U.S. needs to
Got to refinance.
refinance their debt about 10 trillion over the next 18 to 24 months.
Wow.
And he says, in terms of scale, that's 3x the scale of COVID. So if COVID generated the kind of inflation we just saw, refinancing that debt's going to generate.
Look,
Yeah.
I'm not going to give anybody financial
17
advice or
trillion?
anything, so don't take this advice. But if Argentina does a fast shift into Bitcoin like El Salvador did, Argentina is much larger, much wealthier.
It's a huge country.
Bitcoin is going to jump in value 2 or 3 times. I could only imagine.
You said it was the CEO of Strike.
Strike.
What's
Yeah.
Strike?
It's a Bitcoin technology.
You can just you get a Strike app. It's like PayPal, but you just buy Bitcoin, and you can actually set it up to buy Bitcoin every hour. So I buy a little bit every single hour on strike.
Do you guys ever?
They have no
I
transactions.
want to jump to another story here because then I want to cover this last one and then get into the movie stuff. It's just been too much good news, man. Ladies and gentlemen, I got such amazing news for all of you. This is from U.S. News. Maryland handgun licensure law is unconstitutional. U.S. court rules. This is massive, okay? A U.S. appeals court, this is federal, on Tuesday declared that Maryland's licensing requirements for people seeking to buy handguns were unconstitutional, citing a landmark U.S. Supreme Court decision last year that expanded gun rights. Let me break it down for you. In Maryland, to get a gun, you got to take a safety class, like a 4-hour program, and then get a license, and then you can do this. A lot of states do this, and now a U.S. federal court has just said, not anymore. This is a major milestone in universal federal constitutional carry, which we should have, because the Constitution is federal. Yet state by state, we are still fighting this battle over constitutional carry now. More than half the country is constitutional carry. And those that remain, the evil states, they call them the evil seven, they're now losing time and time again. This will probably get appealed. We'll see what happens if it goes to the Supreme Court, but for the time being, a massive victory. So at first, we had this lawsuit. It was brewing. I think it was brewing, right? Where they said you can't, you have to issue a permit if a permit is requested. New Jersey and Maryland and New York are 3 examples of states where you'd go in and say, I'd like to get a gun. They'd say, great, fill out this form. And the form would say, what's your reason? And if you were like, I'm an American citizen who wants to keep and bear arms, they'd say, not good enough. And they'd deny you your permit, or they'd lie. So the Supreme Court says, no, that's unconstitutional. You're borrowing guns. You have to do it. Maryland and New Jersey and New York would not give you a permit. They'd give you one only if you were rich or famous and could prove you were rich and famous. The other way to get it is if you like if you handle large sums of cash, like working at a bank, they would allow you to get a permit as a security guard. But so almost nobody gets them. Now they've lost that. And the latest news is they said, okay, fine, you can get a gun, but you got to take a class. And now the courts are like, nah, you don't. You can have a gun. So Maryland is about to be forced by a judicial review to become constitutional carry. This rule is a major push. We may eventually see, and I'm talking like in 2 or 3 years, maybe 4, depending on how long it takes the Supreme Court. But we could see in the next several years nationwide constitutional carry, which means you can be in Maryland and carry concealed and drive to any state you want and not go to prison for doing so.
Yeah.
Which is insane if you think about it, because the Constitution of the United States says you have the right to keep and bear arms. So why is that if you go from Virginia to West Virginia, you're fine, and if you go to Maryland, now you're committing a felony? That's insane.
Because Maryland doesn't think you should have a gun, right? And also Maryland has, a very intense crime-ridden city. I'm talking about Baltimore, of course. They don't know how to handle these issues, but they think we'll ban guns and that will make everything okay. They don't understand the problems they have because they don't acknowledge what they're trying to say.
If you look at Brazil when Bolsonaro came in, I don't agree with everything Bolsonaro did, but one of the things he did is he said people should be able to own firearms. And crime dropped during his period. My wife's Brazilian, so my kids are all half Brazilian. We spend a lot of time down there. But crime dropped by 30% during his time.
Amazing.
And all the academics were trying to explain it away and say, well, it wasn't because of guns. It was because of the air.
Other good policies that he was implementing? Please name which one.
He just got lucky.
Was he doing what they did in San Francisco, making crime legal and then not classifying it as a crime anymore? Serious question. I don't know.
No, Bolsonaro's kind of the opposite end of that one. He's the lock him up and throw away the key type.
30%. Mm-hmm. Do you know how much of that was violent crime that diminished?
I don't know all the super details, but it was stunning how much impact it had.
Amazing.
Oh, jeez.
Well, I can't remember which state it was, but I remember a story that I learned about when I was like 18. That it might have been Michigan or Wisconsin. Some state enacted a gun control law, and then crime skyrocketed like 87%. So they immediately repealed it. Like, oh crap, that was a big mistake. And Illinois, just outside of Chicago, has a city with some of the highest crime in the country. Believe it or not, a lot of people think you're going to get the highest crime rates in like per city, but yes. There's this one part of Illinois that has one of the highest crime rates. It's actually a wealthy shopping district. So it's not murders and stuff. It's just everybody's getting robbed and mugged nonstop. Look, man, if you live in Illinois, these criminals know you don't got a gun.
Is there a value to making it constitutionally legal statewide, except for in the big cities, or would that just cause too much confusion?
And if you ever had to like go, like I think about Tennessee, where there are 3 major cities across it. If you ever drive across Tennessee, what are you going to do? Like go around it to avoid it? At some point, you're just putting a burden on the law-abiding citizens, and you're not actually dealing with those people who don't care about your laws and will bring a gun there anyways.
I guess are the highways federal? Or are they all
Yes.
state? They're federal.
Well, no, I mean, they're state and federal highways. So typically the way the law is supposed to work is if you're on a federal highway, an interstate, you're allowed to carry, under certain circumstances. Typically you're allowed to transport. But if you get off at any point for gas, they're going to get you. I know people who've had this happen to them.
Otherwise, if you don't have this, what happens is you end up, if you're in Sao Paulo or any area of Brazil, and but guns have been illegal for a long time there before Bolsonaro, you have these walls that are as tall as your ceiling. And on top of the walls, it's just a bunch of broken glass bottles cemented into the top of the wall because people are poor. They can't afford really great security. And so they just build a big wall and put broken glass bottles on
They build a wall, you say?
Yeah.
What a great idea.
So this is actually crazy.
But around every single little tiny house, there's a wall with broken glass bottles.
They stick it in the
that's your
mortar.
last defense.
Yeah.
When you don't have any way to defend yourself. And if you call the police, they'll show up in like an hour.
Oh, right. What do
Yeah.
you, I mean, let's be honest. That's how it is in the U.S.
Yeah, it's starting to get that way.
My experience in Chicago has always been that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a farm boy. So.
Yeah.
See,
we grew up-
suburb was a
so the
little
only
different.
the only consideration when you're in the rural areas is how long will it take for them to drive there?
That's
Yes.
right.
And so,
Because they'll come as fast as they can.
Exactly.
But it might be 20 minutes.
but in the city, you could have a police station down the street, and this has happened to me and my family, and had someone, let's just say engaging in violence against our property, and literally a block away, and the cops didn't show up for half an hour.
It's because they're dealing with like actual violent murder or something,
or they're passing out parking tickets.
Yeah.
or they just don't
Or they're
want it.
just like, who cares? Like, what are we going to do about it?
This in the suburbs.
They're like, man, that sounds really bad. We'll stay away from there.
Yep.
It was okay response time in the suburbs, but out in the country, 20 minutes is not acceptable. I don't.
Well, this is the reality, man. When
didn't
I
take
lived
that
in
long
Florida,
usually,
if we didn't have police, if we called the sheriff, it was going to be an hour and a half. So you need a gun. I was talking to a friend of mine who was like, she told me there's absolutely no reason anyone should have a gun. Give me one reason. I said, okay, well, I lived in rural Florida, 40 miles outside of Miami on a 5-acre property, and we didn't have a gun. We had a break action air compression 22 pellet rifle. And there was word going around the neighbors that someone had been murdered. It was a home invasion. Illegal immigrants had broken in and killed some people, and they were not caught. So one day, me and my friends are hanging out in the kitchen. We're making pizzas because we like to just make all different kinds of pizza for fun. We make weird ones. We made a fruit pizza once with like jam and kiwis and stuff, just goofing off. And I see a guy in my backyard with a flashlight, and I'm like, there are 6-foot-tall fences surrounding the property, and so I'm like, okay, I can call a sheriff right now, and maybe in an hour and a half we'll figure it out. So I'm not going to say it's the responsible thing to do, but I compressed air in the rifle, went out, dry fired, bang, and I yelled, "Hey!" They bolted, jumped the fence, and they were gone. Perhaps not the smartest thing to do. It's all I could do at the time, and it made me think like we probably shouldn't be out here unless we're able to defend ourselves. And so I said, okay, what would have happened if that was the murderer who had killed somebody else?
And he realized it was just an airsoft gun or
Or
pellet gun.
no, I didn't have anything. I mean, they hear a bang, they run for it. They're not going to try and figure out what it was. It's a loud weapon. And to be honest, those things are dangerous. Not
They
as
are.
dangerous as like a Ruger 1022. But let's say we're totally disarmed, and this guy comes up to the property armed. Should I call the police? They'll be here in an hour and a half. What should I do?
You're back to the biggest man wins.
She had no answer. She's like, oh, I don't know. That person shouldn't have a gun. I'm like, you're right, but they have one because they're committing a crime. What should I do? Should I just die?
You should tell them they shouldn't have a gun, and then they'll be like, "Oh, my mistake. I'll put it down." And
There's
leave.
no
Well, let me
answer.
pause the game.
There's no answer. The answer is you need to be able to defend yourself from bad people, and law-abiding citizens are not the risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys are parents. Like when your kids are old enough to live by themselves, would you feel better if they had a gun and knew how to defend
wanna
themselves if
train
they
them-
live alone,
train
right?
them on what to do.
It does make sense. It's weird to me that the response to I have a fear about gun is to ban them as opposed to train more people to know how to operate them and to feel comfortable with them. And that means that you're probably not addressing what your actual fear is, which is crime. And that's a different conversation than
I remember after the Aurora, Colorado shooting, I said to my wife, and I was just like, I'm getting a gun. and I have a phobia of pistols. I like not because I'm a big supporter of self-defense and the Second Amendment, but I have a phobia. So I'm going to go take classes down in Nevada, a week-long class on how to do this, and I'm going to become as well trained as any police officer, so that I know and I have confidence that I know how to use it and I know how to protect myself, and I'll never regret being in like that. I didn't do that, right? But I wanted to be trained. I wanted to know and to try to get rid of the phobia.
Yeah.
And according to self-defense instructors, you'll be the guy that they run to if anything pops off, because they all know you know what you're doing, and they'll be clinging to you. They just in from a super chatter, Oregon judge struck down a gun control measure just within the last 3 hours.
We're winning too fast here.
Harney County judge rules Oregon gun
I'm
measure.
getting tired of winning.
Measure 114 unconstitutional. It looked like they were trying to create a 30-day delay.
Oregon
for
has
your
really intense rules.
but they shut that down.
I'm getting tired of winning, guys. We're just winning too much.
She's gonna have to get used to it.
Well, let's talk about what you guys are working on now, because you've got a new movie coming out on not this week,
December
but
1st.
yeah, the next week, Friday.
And this is a good one.
This is a good one. Should we play the
But
trailer?
I think you guys
People wanna
think
watch the
they're
trailer?
all good, though, right?
No, they're all good because they all pass the guild.
Yeah. the Guild tells
99%
us.
of the projects that go through the guild do not pass because they're not like, it's a high threshold. We've had major filmmakers come in, go into the guild, fail, get really mad because they're like, my name, like you should at least just like,
Your movie sucked.
I'm marketable. And it's like, no, they didn't like it. So
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we'll never
Well,
work
so
with you.
the new movie that you guys got coming out, everybody knows Sound of Freedom. It was awesome. It was huge. Now you've got The Shift, which is December 1st.
Yep.
You want to tell us about it?
This is our first original. This mirrors our story. We met the filmmaker and writer in 2017. His name's Brock Heasley. This guy has this most amazing story. When he was a kid, his dad was actually a pawn shop owner, gunned down in California, ended up was on Rescue 911 to tell his story. And then Brock, when he was a missionary, his dad was shot again, and his dad was killed. So Brock started writing to deal with everything that he was going through in life. And then he and his wife went through the worst time where they lost everything. They both lost their jobs on the same day. They were just destitute. And he made this film with pizza money, this short film. And then he said, I'm going to take this over to Angel Studios and see how the Angel Guild likes this short film. And they caught the vision of it 5 years ago. And he's gone through a process of creating this film, and it has the score on the film just keeps getting higher and higher and higher, and it gets
score.
better and better and better.
Until just, 60 days ago or so, they passed the guild to get into theaters.
Yep.
Wow.
And so we went ahead and said, all right, we're going forward with December 1st. And they went through the guild a lot of times, meaning they resubmitted this film. He took a $500 short film made with pizza money, built a $6.5 million budget, brought in Neil McDonough from Band of Brothers,
Sean Astin from
Sean
Lord
Astin,
of the Rings and from Stranger Things.
yes, Liz Tabish, who plays Mary Magdalene in The Chosen, Paris Patel, who plays Matthew in The Chosen. And then Chris Palaha, who's like the biggest star on Hallmark, and he's very, very good at the romance stuff, which this is a dystopian romance. And he made this film. It is it's going nationwide, first time director, first time writer for a film. And this is going nationwide on December 1st.
Is the writer the director?
Yep.
Yes.
What's his name again?
Brock Heasley.
Heasley?
Heasley.
Heasley?
Heasley.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah,
Yep.
Heasley.
What did he shoot the $500 thing on? Well, how did he make that with $500?
Bunch of friends and favors.
Just called him favors from his friends.
And bought them pizza.
Yep.
Oh, it's so
And he submitted that to Angel, and then they caught the vision off of that, and he crowdfunded over time. It took him a while, but he crowdfunded and raised $6.5 million and built this film.
But back when he passed the guild, my wife said she watched the short, and she's like, I don't get it, Neil. I don't get why you like this film or why the guild liked this film. And then he got to the full feature, because the original was, it was dark. It was this retells the story of Job. in like a sci-fi world, and she just didn't get it. Then she watched the screener after he finished shooting it, and she's like, I love this film.
Yeah.
And it's testing extremely well.
Should we play the trailer?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, we got a trailer right here. Let's pull it up and play it for you guys. You guys ready? Here we go.
Where's my wife? I shifted her. What do you want with me?
This is not my world. I've never been to this lake before. Never walked its shores. But I will find my way back. And I will find my way back to my Molly. 5 years ago, I was left in this dark place. Taken from my wife. The people here have no hope.
You still looking for that wife of yours? You're clinging to scraps of rumors.
And then he arrived.
Where's my wife? I shifted her. For every choice you make, there are countless other realities where you make a different choice. You're talking about parallel Earths. Imagine having the power to move people from one reality to the next, to shift them. What do you want with me? I can make you a king. Imagine everything you have ever wanted. Work for me and get back with the woman that you love.
Okay, we go on a date and maybe we kiss.
Hopefully. He's not gonna shift you back to your wife. It's a trick.
If I choose you, that's the last choice I'm ever gonna make.
I will never leave you alone.
I've seen a bunch of people like us out there looking for a little hope.
There is nothing that I won't do to you. You can't just shoot the devil.
There is so much evil and inhumanity in this world, but there is also beauty and hope, and I will find my way back to her.
Right on. Man, I just gotta say, I like winning. Winning the culture wars is fantastic. Sound of Freedom was amazing. I'm looking forward to this. I'm trying to pull up my local movie theater to see if I can get tickets right now.
Go to
But
angel.com/the shift and you can see all the different showtimes there are right now. I think we're almost to 2,000 theaters right now.
The lesson I learned from the second time we watched, because we watched it before the show went live, is don't talk on your phone while you're driving. That guy, if you catch that 1 second, he flicks his to see who it is. Oncoming traffic.
I'm glad we've learned this lesson.
Just put it on silent. Ignore the thing.
what was the
go
URL?
slow so you can get there fast.
Angel.com/the shift.
Yeah.
So when the guy who came up with this was resubmitting it to the guild, did they provide him feedback on we need to shift this? I mean, so it's a very collaborative, responsive
What happens
process.
when you go to the Angel Guild and you sign up, and we actually have a URL for Timcast where you go angel.com/Timcast will let you sign up for the guild. You can go there, you can become a member of the guild, and you can start voting on content. And you get complimentary tickets to every single movie. So when you sign up, the guild already gets to watch Sound of Freedom. They already get to watch After Death. You get to watch Tuttle Twins early, and then you're going to get two free tickets to The Shift. You'll get 2 free tickets to this new movie called Cabrini coming out next year, so on. But you're building...
and you get to watch the next Sound of Freedom before anybody else does.
So angel.com/Timcast will get you to the guild. But with The Shift, he submitted to the guild again and again rough cuts. And there's 100,000 guild members. And so you get several hundred to 1,000 people watching it. And then they give you a signal, and it comes out as a score, 0 to 100. Usually to pass, you have to be at least a 60 on that score. It's a signal of how passionate people are about your film. And like at the high 60s or low 70s will put you at like 99% audience scores on Rotten Tomatoes.
Like Sound of Freedom was a 76.
It was a 74.
74.
74.
And it did
Sound of Freedom.
99 to 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's the Sound of Freedom is the most highest audience rated blockbuster of all time on Rotten Tomatoes for audiences. But the Shift, he went back, I think like 12 different times and just kept getting the signal. I'm off. And we don't tell you why you're off. You just see the number. You know you're not there yet. And then you can read all the comments from everybody and try to go through the noise and find the signal as a filmmaker. So we're not going to tell you what's wrong with your film.
But people do provide comments.
They do provide comments so that you can try to sift through the noise and find the signal as an artist to say, this is what's wrong. Because sometimes people they say one thing, but you as an artist realize, oh, what's actually wrong is something totally different, and you solve their problem in a different way.
For instance, they'd be like, I don't like that character, but you realize that the audio's not right on that character's scenes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or you haven't made him sympathetic enough. You need something else
With
to
Sound
add
of Freedom, there was early on people were saying the movie's too long, but the movie wasn't too long. We ended up cutting what the problem was is it went too deep at the beginning on the difficulty of the children, right? It just went too deep and people couldn't get out at the end and actually enjoy the thriller part of the movie because the heartache was so heavy. And so we actually the director cut down the intro of the film.
Not a lot.
When everybody was saying the way the audience would respond is say, it just feels long. And so you think, oh, I'm going to go cut down the slow parts, not these parts where everybody's bawling. I'm going to go cut down the non-emotional parts. But where it needed to be cut down was just a little bit in the heavier stuff because they went too deep and then it felt long because they were exhausted by the end.
Yeah, and cut down doesn't just mean like shortening. It means like be more
just tight.
Have a critical eye of what exactly is conveying what you want. I think that it's not like you're saying cut all of your movie. It's saying, review it. It's the same thing with an editorial piece, right? You could say something with 5,000 words, but if you have one line that really conveys the meaning, that's honestly, much more powerful.
Yeah.
And what will blow your mind with The Shift is Liz Tabish's performance, the one who plays Mary Magdalene. She shines in this. I've got a quote here that just came in from Eric Artell, who's a major TikToker, and he said, Elizabeth Tabish gives the performance of her career. And if you've seen The Chosen, you know she's super good. Her depth and vulnerability brought me to tears. And we've seen also with with Chris Palaha, who's they call him sometimes the Prince of Hallmark. That's his normal world, is he does Hallmark movies. Everybody who's watching right now who watches Hallmark knows who Chris Palaha is. He's a star. But he's doing something totally different in this movie. It's a very intense thriller. But
he says it's the culmination of his career for
culmination
him.
Of his career.
This movie.
And he knows how to do romance so well. So him and Liz got this chemistry, like to the point you're just like, these two, what did one person say? One review was like, you can tell these two people want to procreate. It doesn't show anything. Sean Astin is unbelievable. Neil McDonough, in my opinion, gives the performance of his career in this movie.
He's great.
This movie
is awesome.
We're having, especially women are telling us that this is the best movie Angel's done. And that is a big deal when you're thinking about, now men don't put as high as Sound of Freedom. Sound of Freedom is, but women.
I think the dude saving children is like really male power. It is.
I got text messages from friends that are like, can we go kill some pedophiles after they watch the movie? That's
for law enforcement and for
but that's how they feel.
But
They're
it's
just
similar
like,
to the effect
let me at them.
with The Patriot, right? The Patriot is like, people are like, yeah, this is a great country. I feel good about this. I mean, I think men and women watch film and TV and movies for a different emotional reaction. So it'd be interesting.
Right. So women love this movie. It's like, and it is selling out all over the country. There's movie theaters selling out all over the country, and we're up against Napoleon. So it's a hard.
I heard bad things about Napoleon.
Who's playing Napoleon? Someone well-known actor. Right?
Oh, it's
Joaquin
Napoleon.
Phoenix.
It's Joaquin.
Yeah, Joaquin's amazing.
Joaquin.
But when you watch this, one person said after they watched it, they're like, with Chris Palaha, they're like, it's like my brain is like, this is like if Christopher Nolan directed a Hallmark film.
Yeah, it feels like they took the guy out of Office Space and like shifted him into that reality where he's like, I mean, he kind of looks like, what's his name from Office
You
Space?
can't describe this film.
He's also the handsome guy on a Marvel movie.
Yeah, he's in Marvel Avengers. He's in Avengers.
Chris is?
Endgame, yeah. But in the credits, he's handsome man.
Oh, hell yeah. In the guild, is there a discrepancy between...
He is a very good-looking man.
I agree, actually. Very good looking. I'm glad they cut his face up for the movie because he'd stop getting typecast. Do you have the male to female ratio in the guild? Is that noticeable in the way they vote?
Yeah, so the women rate this super high. The men don't start rating it high until the special effects and the sound design came in.
Mm-hmm.
So women started rating this really high early on because they don't care if sci-fi
If it adds
movies
heart.
just look like people walking around with plastic guns until you add in all the sound design going and the lasers and the, once all that stuff came in, the men are like, yeah, this is an awesome movie. But the women were on board before that because they're like, this love story is palpable.
When you're weighting the votes from the guild, do you ever take into account the females? A lot of females voted a 9. A lot of men voted a 3. So let's dilute
we're focused
the 9s
more on, we're focused. We actually shifted the focus of our marketing. This trailer is a little more male focused, but we've shifted a lot of it towards the romance side because this is, a lot of people say this feels like Hunger Games, which is a teenage romance, dystopian romance, right? It's a
Yeah, it
thriller
does have
as
Hunger
well.
Games vibe. I get that.
it got a kind of a Hunger Game.
In fact, it's
Feeling
trailering
to
in
it.
front of the
Yeah,
new
it's
Hung-
trailering in front of Hunger Games right
Yeah.
now.
Interesting.
So
But
if you watch,
that's just through the trailer. It gives that
so
vibe.
if you go watch Hunger Games in Regal, you're going to see this trailer in front of it.
That's
but like for a
pretty
different movie that's more romance vibe, you would have a different trailer.
Yeah,
that
so
highlights the
we have
romantic.
focuses on romance for women, the story of Job, which is a modern telling of the story of Job for the more faith oriented groups, and then you've got the thriller element, which is for men, like that men come for the sci-fi.
Is that common when you're making trailers to do one for women
Yep.
and one for men?
We line them out and we say this is going to this group, this is going to this group. That you're
Like
hitting.
any other marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask how
Targeted
much
ads.
demographic information you have about the guild? Like, is you guys are based in Utah?
Mm-hmm.
Is that where the guild was, or do you find that they're
So the guild's made
international?
up. So
I mean-
the initiation of the guild came all from investors,
Mm-hmm.
and because we are regulated by the SEC and FINRA for crowdfunding, it was a U.S. centric group.
Except for the angel investors. the
And do
ones
you
for
feel that?
industry.
But do you feel like
Yeah.
that's represented in the people who participate? Like, do you feel like you have a broad selection of people from across the country?
Skews US,
if
but-
you go to angel.com Timcast, you can now sign up for a membership anywhere in the world, and so the guild is growing very quickly.
But it's
and-
not Utah.
But it's not.
It's
No,
not.
It's every single state.
That's interesting.
You have,
And
you have
it's-
almost, I think, 200,000. The website says 175K.
Yeah, 175,000 guild
I'm just
members.
wondering if it's
Yeah.
like, word of mouth, like you guys are in your
Yeah.
community and saying we're starting this thing, so your friends sign up
Yeah.
and it grows from there, or if it is something that,
the more you get your friends to sign up, the more weight your culture has on the guild. Like
'Cause
if,
there are-
if Timcast fans all come and sign up, then when you bring a movie to Angel, you're much more likely to succeed because your demographic's more represented.
And there are cities across America. I remember, Texas, there are a couple, I think Matthew McConaughey and a couple other actors who are trying to push Texas growing its film industry. I mean, obviously Atlanta has like a film industry right now. There are states across the U.S. that have a film industry that exists. It's just not as big as Hollywood, right?
That's
so
right.
Think about
This
it.
was shot in Birmingham. It was a Birmingham crew. Birmingham, Alabama
That's
shot this.
interesting.
And Birmingham, surprisingly, is a very dystopian looking place for a film.
Wow.
Yeah, it's got a lot of rundown buildings, a lot of beautiful architecture,
There's a scene in
and we
here
needed
that's-
beautiful architecture with the rundown look.
Yeah.
There's a scene in here, like the climax scene is in this old historic building.
It's a
Remind me,
Masonic temple.
yeah, but who spoke there? Like it was
Martin Luther King
Martin Luther
Jr.
King spoke there.
Yeah, he spoke at in that same spot where the final scenes are,
Was where he
or
spoke.
where you see him like on the screen looking at his wife. Yeah, Martin Luther King Jr. spoke there.
So do you find that there are a lot of people in the film industry who are reaching out to you to say, I want to be involved with Angel Studios, but I'm not based in Hollywood. I'm based over here doing whatever. Like, is it sort of becoming something people reach out to, not just to get their film made, but for their professional careers?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, we can only right now. Angel only accepts what we call a torch, and this harps back to the beginning of crowdfunding. So the Statue of Liberty, originally, Frederick Bartholdi made a torch. He took it around Europe to raise money. He took it around the U.S.
He couldn't
and
get governments to pay for it.
Right.
So
And
he
then-
actually had to crowdfund the Statue of Liberty.
Right.
And
What a
so
time back in the day when governments didn't just cut checks for everything.
so the French and the American people saw that torch and they caught the vision for what he was trying to create. And the same way, somebody brings a torch, a video, a short film, or a full film, if it's going to go to theaters like Sound of Freedom, and then the guild looks at it, they catch the vision of where they're trying to head with it, and they vote yay or nay.
But if I were like a cameraman and I was based in, North Carolina, do you have people reaching out for those kind of production type jobs, or do you have to direct them somewhere else?
So each production has its own casting department, and David's being done in South Africa. We've got productions in the UK.
David's a film about King David.
Yep,
it's an animated musical that's coming in 2025. It's a $62 million film that they crowdfunded.
Crazy.
Yeah. So these are done in different places. The Chosen is shot in both Goshen, Utah, and just outside of Dallas, Texas. And
the Shift crew, it's got the guys who did the music for The Chosen, Dan Hasseltine and
Matthew Nelson.
Did it, and it's phenomenal. Like the score on this is unlike anything you've ever heard. There's nothing generic about it.
Yeah.
Those guys did Jars of Clay, the band back in the day.
Yeah.
They've scored now The Chosen and this, and they're two of the best movie scores. Like they're just.
But it doesn't sound anything like The Chosen score.
Yeah, it sounds nothing like it.
Yeah.
Then you've got one of the producers was the editor for Sound of Freedom.
Mm-hmm. That's
and
very cool.
he also edited Cabrini, which is coming out in March. And then, so there is a cross-pollination happening between the groups. So like Alejandro Monteverde, who directed Sound of Freedom and Cabrini, came in and consulted to help Brock get to the point where he could pass the guild.
Right.
Because he was trying to figure out how to get his score up, and Alejandro said, well, if you did this or if you did this, he
give
gave
professional feedback.
He gave some really great ideas, or the creators of Tuttle Twins spent some time on it. And so these different filmmakers join around you once you've kind of reached this point where you're building a film.
Yeah.
Because they need you to succeed as well, because it's part of the community.
But to be honest to your question, Hannah, like we're not replacing the Hollywood craft.
Mm-hmm.
Like all these productions, they're using SAG actors. They're using teams that are part of the Hollywood network, because Hollywood is better at making movies than anyone else in the world.
Yeah, I always think
craftsmen, and they're not ideologically opposed to this.
Right, I was going to say, I think it's interesting because we talk about building culture and movies, and I think that's great and excellent. But I would think all of the people that need to make the film, or it's not just the actors or the people cutting it together. It's also the people holding the mics and the people with the cameras. Like those skills have ties to Hollywood.
And those
and
guys
their own
just
industry.
love making great art.
Yeah.
They don't care if the art is nihilistic,
or maybe
or if it praises God,
Yeah.
or if it's in between somewhere. They don't care as long as it's great art.
That's
what they
interesting.
don't like making is campy, cringe stuff.
So they want something better. They don't want to just
Yes.
make the same 5 movies over and over
So
again.
That's right.
To reach the level that's
It's the
required,
gatekeepers that are the problem.
reach the level that's required for the Angel Guild, you pretty much have to have that level of craft, which means you're calling on the resources of the storytelling world to do that. So if people are interested, they have to get involved in the casting groups, and they have to get involved in acting and work their way up in the industry, and then they'll have a chance. But what we saw is that the problem with Hollywood is that it's become too insular.
Mm-hmm.
It's become a bubble, and very few people make these story decisions. And then they're pushing their views on the world and the way the stories are told. And because they hold the keys to the gate,
Those are the only stories that get out.
those are the only stories that get
But now
out.
it's
And
not
we're
working
replacing the gatekeepers
Yeah.
with the people.
We're replacing it right at the same point where it stopped working.
Are you ever concerned that like having Alejandro come in and advise, his name?
Brock Peasley?
To advise Brock is going to create a similar problem where a lot of the genres it's a similar genre because a lot of the interactivity amongst the artists is going to pigeonhole.
Some, except for Brock was already so far down the road. He's more helping him solve. It's like a mechanic saying, "Hey, I can diagnose the problem with your storyline that you're facing. Let me give you the diagnosis, and here are a couple of ideas to solve it." And then Brock went and solved it in his own way.
Right.
Right.
And Brock actually, like the first time that the first ideas to try to solve it actually didn't work, but the combination of those two ideas, they got to a solution. And but Brock made the final call on what it was.
I would imagine he'd already have the vision prepared and that he's just doing technical crafting at that point. But
Yeah, there's just
in this case,
Alejandro
it
wants
was
to
really. In this case, it was probably really mostly about just clarifying, making sure that the story
curse
came
of
through.
knowledge stuff.
Yeah, came through really, really clear.
Yeah, a lot of
Sometimes
times
you know your story so well you don't realize why people
exactly.
can't
When
get
the writer directs their own work, that's not a big problem, but can pose a big problem. I think George Lucas had that problem with some of the new episode 1, for instance. It's just like a fantasy in his head. I didn't understand what the point of that movie was, to be honest, at all. There was no villain. It was very weird. Poorly done villain with Darth Maul. So I think getting out of the writer's hands, or having an advisor come in that can help you maybe direct or from the sidelines, just so you know, just because you see it and know it doesn't mean the audience does.
What else is coming? Cabrini?
We got Cabrini coming. We've got
There's actually a slate of 8 next year, and we're shooting for 12 in 2025.
We're building a Young Washington movie that kicks off it's a movie first. We're doing it with John Irwin, who did Jesus Revolution, I Can Only Imagine,
American Underdog.
American Underdog. Has the most A+ cinema scores of any director in Hollywood. So John's building one on the founding of America with Young Washington, and his goal is to release that next year. He's got to pass the Guild, of course. But the idea is to launch something similar to The Chosen around the entire founding of America.
Oh, cool.
It's
Like
a
a
universe.
series.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
universe around the founding of America, because we haven't gone into that very much.
I'd love to play Ben Franklin. I don't know if he was fat when he was young.
Yeah.
Let's roll.
You actually you could do
I
it.
got round
Totally do
glasses.
that.
We'll do the whole thing. I'll wear it, anything.
We need to,
Take that kite up in the air. I don't know how deep into George's life it's going to go.
that's going to be really fun.
Yeah.
Then so we've got that one. We've got another one called Homestead that Neil McDonough is in as well, and it's an end of the world one where all the power goes out, nuclear bomb hits, and they're trying to survive on a homestead. Essentially, it's based in our time. Then there's Bonhoeffer, Friedrich Bonhoeffer, famous pastor from Germany that fought against Hitler. He was the most famous pastor in the country at the time, and he has one of his biographies are some of the best-selling books ever. And but Bonhoeffer goes from pacifist Christian to saying, I will help try to assassinate the Fuhrer.
Wow.
And the difficulty of him trying to figure it out
As a Christian
what he should be doing. And that film that's a big budget one. That one we just signed like a week ago. There is David. It's a musical. It's like Prince of Egypt.
Cool.
It's like the Old Testament. And it's this beautiful animated movie for kids. And because David was a musician, he wrote the Book of Psalms, which is just a book of songs. It's actually like motivated. So if you go to angel.com/Timcast and you join the Angel Guild, you get a vote on all the different projects. And then you're going to get complimentary tickets to every single time we release a theatrical release. And what this does, we have 175,000 people right now in the Guild. But imagine it once you get 1 million people in the Guild. Then let's say half of them turn up to theaters.
It's just
you because they got their complimentary tickets.
You Taylor Swift.
You Taylor Swift every single movie.
That's how we change the culture.
Exactly, no one can compete with you at the point.
Yeah,
because they're going to be like they've got a natural pull. Are you familiar with it's like what's a venue's natural pull? So if you, with you guys having a guild, you're like, our movies basically guaranteed to sell out X many seats because of the amount of people who love our movies.
That's right.
Something
and so more
Hollywood can only
filmmakers
guess at.
come because there's guaranteed seats. And right now we've got 175,000, which means we're doing a lot of pre-sales. But once we hit a certain point, it's unstoppable, right? And when you're joining the Angel Guild, you're joining this movement where you get to pick the content. It's not us. We're not the ones picking it.
You get to trust whatever comes out.
You get to trust what comes out. You know it's all going to be good because the bigger the guild gets, the better it picks. And then you get two complimentary tickets to every single movie in theaters, and you're launching these things into the stratosphere. And the silver screen, when you go in and you have a communal experience at the theater, it changes people. Like, you can't push pause. There is something about not being able to press pause, even if you have to hold it for a little bit to go to the bathroom. There's a different experience when you go to the theater. It's like Andrew Peterson's blog, The Rabbit Room, talks about the sacrament of the cinema, where it's almost like a sacramental experience where you walk into church, you give up all your distractions, and you focus on the sacrament and what it means about Jesus Christ and what he did for you. And it allows you to recharge. And people are desperate to get away from these.
When you're looking at the failures of Hollywood So let me tell you what's fascinating. You guys have almost 200,000 guild members. And you're talking about if you got to 1 million guild members, these are people who are contributing to a
movement.
It's a movement, but the amount of revenue being generated will make people in Hollywood weep as they're losing money like crazy. You guys are taking off and producing movies based on what the guild actually is a decentralized voting process to determine good movies. Not only do you have a better mechanism for creating profitable films, people are directly involved in making those films, whereas Hollywood is top-down garbage and it's failing. I'm just very happy to see Hollywood get their comeuppance more and more every day. Now, you know what would be great? Hollywood stops the woke garbage, starts making good movies with good messages, good values, and then we say, okay, great. You know,
that'll be a win.
That would be a win. It would be a great win.
That would be amazing.
But you know what? I'll take Angel Studios taking over and becoming the next biggest thing, where they've got guaranteed seats in the theaters, where movies are like Sound of Freedom and less like some of the woke garbage they've been putting out.
And it's not just a bunch of repeats, right? We can launch, if we have a guild that's passing great content, they can launch any risky movie to the moon.
Right. It doesn't have to be IP that has franchise potential.
The IP is the guild.
Yes. It's
right.
Yeah, because there's automatic buy-in.
Right.
And think about this. My kids, whenever they're watching too much screen time, I have 6 kids. When they're watching too much screen time, I go to them, I'm like, kids, Harmons live on the other side of the screen. We make the content that other people do. We celebrate by watching once in a while, but we live on the other side of the screen. What we're trying to do with Angel Studios is all the content's free in the Angel app. You go to the angel.com and you can just watch all of our shows for free. You get early access with the guild. Like Sound of Freedom right now is just in early access. But you get to watch everything for free, but you join the community to build a movement to change the future of entertainment and live on the other side of the screen. It's like Legos. You spend more time building than you do playing because it's more fun. And you get to help make the movies that are coming out. You get to watch the early cuts. If you were in the guild,
did you give him that video of that guy talking about the shift?
I did. It should be in the email if you want to watch this guy.
We'll pull it up in the members only. We need to go to Super Chats.
Before we do you ever shoot movies at the house with the kids?
Yeah, I actually I gave him my old iPhone and for Christmas last year, and said, "Here's the phone," and I only put iMovie on it. And just said, go make your own.
Yeah, you should.
So they're using their dolls and they're trying to.
You should direct them all, get them all to be actors in your movie one time. They're gonna love it.
No, because Harmons are on the other side of the screen, so they can't be actors.
Well, and here's what I love about this is that all growing up, and everybody I know who's in Hollywood, they all say my family was terrified that I came to Hollywood, and 95+% of people who go into Hollywood end up losing their faith,
or their family,
or their families, and I want, for me, success means that when I'm old, that my kids and my grandkids can be encouraged to go into the Hollywood business, into the film business, and not worry about being destroyed with their families and their faith. And we've got to build a parallel system to do that.
Let's get it. Let's go to Super Chats for now. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, head over to timcast.com, click join us, become a member so you can hang out for the members only uncensored show. But as a member, you get to hang out in our Discord server with like-minded individuals. A lot of really cool stuff going on. A lot of new projects in the works. There's morning shows. The people in the Discord actually have their own hangouts. You should definitely be involved. But for now, let's read what y'all got to say. Alpha Turkey, just in time for Thanksgiving, with the first Super Chat saying, hello there. Well, thank you for that Super Chat.
Do you think Alpha Turkey's really stressed this time of year, or do you think it's
no,
okay?
Alpha Turkey ain't got nothing to worry about.
That's true. If you're
Alpha
not
Turkey's
dead by
walking
now,
around.
you're probably okay.
Be careful with deep frying
turkey.
turkeys. I would suggest not to deep fry a turkey. I keep seeing videos of them going up in flames.
I've always wanted to try it.
Yeah, but you do it right, and it's amazing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you gotta do it right.
You just have to have a big enough space.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because the water will...
Well, not water.
No, it's oil.
It's the water in the turkey that reacts with the oil.
Right.
So you got to do it. You got to know what you're doing. Matthew Emmons says, could you two talk to Ryan Long and Danny Polishchuk about distributing a movie with Timcast? Could the Harmon brothers? So we mentioned this with Danny the other day on the show. Danny said that he wrote a script. He and Ryan wrote a script, but it's kind of dated, wouldn't work now. And I was like, let's do a movie. And they said, okay. So, I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know. Maybe you guys would be or the guild, I should say, not you guys. You
the
guys don't matter at all. Like,
No, just some farmers from Idaho.
right?
We help market it. Once it gets through, we help take it to the world.
Yeah. But Ryan Long will be here next week, and Daniel will be coming back, and I'm going to talk to them about, what do we have to do to make a good comedy film.
And our principles. So as you're prepping, if you want to come to Angel, our principles, we have what's called we're looking for projects that amplify light.
Yeah.
Right.
You want to explain?
That's stories that are true, honest, noble, just, authentic, admirable, lovely, and excellent.
It's like a rom-com.
Yeah, could work totally.
We can do
Rom-com
something-
could work fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see how edgy Ryan and Danny want to get with it, because they're pretty edgy. But we'll see what happens. We'll talk to them. Let's grab some more. What do we got here? Bears fan in Cheeseland. You're in Wisconsin? New subscriber here. Thanks for the content. I imagine that means you live in Wisconsin. You're a fan of the Bears.
Bold of you to admit that.
I remember the first time I went to Wisconsin, I was really disappointed because we went to a store, like a grocery store, and the cheese was imitation cheese product. And we're like, what? We're in Wisconsin. How did this happen?
That should be treason. Whoever
Yeah, it's
runs
like-
that grocery store should be brought up on state charges.
Imitation cheese product. I don't know. It was a little store. They were doing all right. Noah Sanders says, congrats on getting SCNR back up. It's awesome to see the movies you're making. I just got laid off, so be on the lookout for a resume. Stay blessed. Yes, Scanner. It's officially come back. So let me tell you the story, my friends, as much as we can. We did a crowdfund several years ago. It's a long time ago now. This is like, what, 2019 or something?
Before? Oh, yeah. Oh, Jesus, before that.
It was 2018.
Yeah, it was 18.
Wow. We raised $1 million in 22 hours. It was the fastest crowd investment in the U.S. at the time. And we launched a company called Subverse to produce news and documentaries and ground and field reporting. And let me just give you the simple version of it. There was a lawsuit. You can read the documents. They're all public. I can't say much about it because of the lawsuit. But it basically froze the company in a matter of speaking. We have resolved those issues. And since the resolution, which was quite a while ago, I should say there was a court resolution followed by long period of tying up loose ends and resolving a lot of these issues, which finally resulted in us, as of today, officially relaunching. The Timcast news team is now the SCNR news team. They're back, and we're glad it's happening. We're working with, of course, Bill Ottman of Minds is involved for sure. We're really excited that we're going to have this project. So there were a lot of people who had invested in it, and I'll tell you the frustrating thing. People are saying, like, I demand answers. I invested in this project. And it's like, I am legally not allowed to say anything when you're involved in these cases. So it's like, I can't even respond to someone say sorry. All we can do is say, here, please read this legal document that was published.
frustrating,
Have a
right?
nice day. Like,
so frustrating.
can't say anything.
Frustrating.
So it's been resolved. We still can't, this is like how it works. We, for the most part, can't talk about it. But anyone who wants to can read all of the court documents, see for themselves exactly what happened. And just know that we never stopped working on the project, and the project is back. And we are going to bring it back from what I would only describe as insolvency. You can read all about the court case to understand what I'm talking about, but it's going to require a lot of heavy lifting on all of our parts. But it's what needs to happen. It's what should happen. And the people who invested in that project all those years ago still have their stake as it stands. So.
Good on you.
Keep.
We went through a similar experience. Big lawsuit, crowd-funded company, and we went through bankruptcy.
And you had people being like, "Why aren't you giving me all the information?" You're like, you can't say anything.
Yeah,
they don't like. It's hard to actually even explain why, but for the basics of it is like, there's strategic and legal reasons. They're like, you cannot talk about this.
Yep.
If I someone totally unrelated,
It's just
made
because the
a
way the
video
court
about
systems work. Court systems work that way to where if you say something, you're actually potentially hurting all their investments.
Right. Oh, and then it just opens up the door for a lot more. So as it pertains to this, I think the official thing is the people involved in the company cannot speak of or induce anyone to speak of what happened.
But if I were to just do it and then I'm not involved at all, and then you're like, well, here's a link to a video of a guy explaining it. That's legal?
Nope. No, not allowed.
You can't get
Cannot
involved.
do that.
Yeah.
Yep. I can't even be like, watch this guy's. I can say, here are the court documents. You can read them for yourself. That's it. If anybody were to make a video, I could not be like, oh, look at this video. Can't do it. It's crazy. It's crazy how that works. And let's just say we're all very disappointed, but we're excited that things are getting.
The brand is
going again.
hot, dude. Scanner. I like
You know-
it. It's a very sci-fi.
And we had a lot of great stuff. And if anyone's wondering what happened, you can read the court documents.
well, I'm at scnr.com right now looking at it.
Yeah.
Looks good.
So, and it's just getting started. We got something up that we could. We had to do a lot of infrastructure work. It was expensive, and it's worth it. And it's I'm excited for it. But there's a lot of other stuff involved. You know, we're going to be working on documentaries. The stuff from Elad is now going to be published on Scanner. The Twitter account will stay the same, and Timcast News is going to be reposting these things. And Timcast News, of course, will use the articles as sources and things like that. But Timcast News will not be publishing day-to-day news stories. However, timcast.com still will have special articles and things like that, and nothing else is changing. So, super excited. All right, let's go. Let's see what we got. Zacchaeus and Brannigan Deed says, saw After Death this week. Thanks. Tim, when can we look into running a coffee shop? I'm an entrepreneur in Oregon and would like to counterculture here. So the snowball's rolling down the hill. The good news is I'm hearing from the people working on the project. Things are picking up speed. The equipment has arrived, and we hopefully will have this up and running. It was supposed to be. We thought it was going to be up and running earlier this year. That's how crazy it was. We bought a building. We started doing all the work, and then all of a sudden permits resulted in, oh, you got to fix this. You got to fix this. You got to fix this, and it just never ended. And but we're getting there, and we're working with Chef Andrew Gruel on the expansion plans. So stay tuned for that. Super exciting. And then we're building you know what we need to do? We're building an anti-Times Square in Martinsburg, West Virginia. So this is where we're putting our coffee shop, right? And so we were talking with Terrence Williams about a Cousin T's diner because he's got Cousin T's pancakes. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, the local diner is like going out of business and we don't know what's going on. We should revive it, Cousin T's diner. We should do a series of businesses all downtown Martinsburg that are parallel economy. We got to put up an Angel Studios movie theater.
That'd be really
that'd
cool.
be so
in
cool.
Martinsburg, West Virginia.
That would be so cool.
Yep. And then it's just,
That'd be really fun.
yeah, you have the new movies, you have regular movies in rotation that you guys want to have, ones that fit your values, but also just like,
And ones that you guys get behind, Timcast, the movies you really like, we could go do special screenings there.
but documentaries, because we just put out Infringed. So there's a lot you could do. I don't know, it's up to you guys, but Terrence Williams definitely interested in something. He actually gave us the idea by mentioning he wanted to do this diner. And we have the paperwork with Andrew Gruel we're finalizing. And then we are going to, the general idea is we've got all these prominent individuals that are fighting the culture war. And I'm like, let's create brick and mortar shops for all these different personalities that fit their brand for what they're interested in and into and promoting, and then set them up all over the country. So with Cast Brew Coffee, I'm like, imagine if we had 1,000 of these through
Coffee shops.
Yeah, coffee shops. Now imagine this. Imagine some guy or woman walks in for their morning coffee, and as they're waiting for it, there's a TV screen playing Crowder, Timcast IRL, or some other show. You people, Joe Rogan, whatever. That's going to expose our side of the culture war and parallel economy to regular people when we put this up next to, a Walmart or something.
Yep.
Now imagine Saturday night at the coffee shop is, normal hours are till 8, but this night we're doing a screening for an Angel Studios, movie that came out a little while ago. Come hang out, get together.
Be fun.
What we want to do is something called Saturday morning cartoons, where on Saturday mornings, families come with their kids. The TVs are playing wholesome cartoons. We do catering. And this creates like builds up community between families.
We've got cartoons we could help you out with there.
Exactly. Tuttle Twins.
Yep.
Tuttle Twins,
Wing Feather
Saga, David, Young David.
Yeah. But an Angel Studios movie theater in Martinsburg. That'd be cool.
Send us the info.
We'll figure it out. We're so far away from it. I mean, I feel like if there was someone who was like a billionaire culture warrior, they could be like, I'll hire 10 guys right now. We'll get the ball rolling. For me, it's like we got 800 things, on all these different, so the paperwork's moving forward with Chef Andrew Gruel, but we can only go as fast as we can. So hopefully
the fastest way to get there, I think, to that is if we can get the Angel Guild big enough to escape velocity.
Yeah.
Essentially, like, we just need to figure out kind of a deeper partnership to where we're working with everybody who's like-minded and making sure it's a win for everybody.
There's a theater across the street from us that hosted an all-ages drag show. Perhaps we can buy it and turn it into a movie theater and stop having those kinds of things. Yeah, the people in the community are really pissed off because they had a Pride event where they had children dancing with drag queens and stuff like that. And the locals are offended. I mean, they find this stuff to be in violation of West Virginia state law, which they clearly outline, and they're wondering why nothing's being done about it. Well, it's because wokeness pushes its way into these areas, and so we're gonna push back and say, look, man, if the people who live here are saying this goes against their values and they have laws against it, we need something to change.
Yeah.
So, and we'll see where we go with it.
We didn't
we're
talk
working
about
every day.
After Death much, and I do want to keep going with Super Chats, but how's it doing? This is the documentary you guys released a few months ago? Or when?
Best-selling documentary since COVID, period. And it's the #1 faith documentary in history.
It's about people experiencing
Really?
like life after death, like what do they call it? Near-death experiences and things
Yes.
like that?
Yeah, and it's in the guild right now. If you become a member of the guild, you can actually just watch it right now.
Oh, really?
It just because we just as we're moving Thanksgiving, it's moving out of theaters because the big movies are coming in, which means it's going straight into the guild. And
Guild gets everything first.
yeah, so
before
if you
it
go to
goes Amazon or anything.
theangel.com/Timcast, you can just start watching this. But this movie, what they do is they go through and they take the scientific documentation around what people have experienced when they died and then they came back. You know, just people were dead completely, like no brain activity type situations for 30 minutes or 90
From
minutes.
multiple continents, different faiths, just all types of people looking for patterns.
And then they look for patterns and they see that like there are people who are in surgeries and have experiences where they see things that are happening and they explain it to the surgeon after the fact. And the surgeon's like, they can't know that. It's impossible for them to know that because they're having an out-of-body experience.
Wow.
Stuff like there'd be a coin up on top of something and they'll see the coin.
No, they
stuff
describe
like
the
that.
tools.
They describe what the doctor's tools that they're using to operate on them. And
I've heard that there was a cupboard
Where they're watching their own ambulance get to the hospital and they're following it.
Someone wrote something on a paper and had it on top of like a cupboard, and then someone who was having a near-death experience said what was on top of it, and they were just like, how could you have possibly known? There was no point at which you were consciously walking around the room. You were on your deathbed the whole time, and they were like, I saw it. Here's what it says.
Everything's vibrating and your soul is attuned to that.
Well, and they talk about it as more real. This is what's crazy. Almost all of them say, this experience was more real to me than life.
I was alive, and then I was more alive.
More alive.
Do they ever, you know,
that's freaky.
the body, I think it's purported to lose 7 grams when the human body dies. Have you guys ever heard of that?
Yeah, I've heard that.
On near-death experience, do they lose the 7 and then regain the 7?
I don't know. Like some of these guys are like completely crushed in car accidents and their bodies are completely like destroyed.
Dead for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
That's
there's
crazy.
Clinically.
Like there's stuff that's just bonkers. That's they're drowned for significant periods of time, and
about 23% of after-death experiences reported are a hellish experience, and then the rest describe it as light and love and
so it's
heavenly.
It's after death. It's technically they've died and then they come back to life.
Yes, yeah,
Crazy.
And even like there's when you go and watch it inside the app, when you get in the Angel app and you watch it, there are dozens of videos of people that have watched the movie and then they submitted their own experiences.
yes.
So there's a community of people joining and they're saying, hey, this is what I experienced. This is what
happened to
I
me.
experienced.
I read a book on this 19 years ago, and it was fascinating because it was a skeptic who wrote a book, who was an atheist, secular guy, who said that his goal was basically to analyze this in through any other academic survey, and what he found was like 80 to 90% of the interviews he did, it was almost the same story regardless of external circumstance. Like a lot of people say, oh, they see a bright light because they're on an operating table. And he was like, actually, we found that people who are having near-death experiences outside of hospital settings, car accidents, gunshot wounds, etc., experience the same thing either. Yep. And
they meet relatives. They have life reviews. Like that's something that's different than like
life reviews.
Yeah, they have, instead of psychedelic experiences, they'll meet their relatives or they meet God, and then they have a life review where they go through their life.
Like
with
in the
them.
Scrooge movie, right?
Yeah, kind of. It's really interesting how some of these movies that do really well, if you look at It's a Wonderful Life, he goes back through his life and he overcomes his trauma and he's healed. And in Scrooge, these writers tapped into something deeper about how like more eternal, because they're going back through their lives in these stories and then they're completely healed by the end of the movie. And these resonate deeply with people.
Well, and it comes at a time when therapy speak is on the rise. You have lots of people, especially young people, and I applaud this, who say, I want to get better, I want to understand myself more, whatever else. But it's like, are you actually fully reflecting on your life and the choices you made? Or are you holding
True
yourself
honesty,
accountable?
right? True honesty.
Let's read some more super chats. We got T-Rex Pet Shop says judge in Georgia just ruled the cybersecurity flaws of voting machines unconstitutional.
I saw that.
Big win for voting security. What kind of food will you get for Seamus? The type from T-Rex Pet Shop, right? Yes, we will. So that's good news. Seamus is in his cage, and
Where he belongs.
He's very nice, and he's been getting along, and he's very hungry. He will eat anything and just snarl it down. But we like the vet said that he's very loving, has had human contact before. So if he uses a litter box, then he's good to come inside. Probably not in the castle because this is Boca's territory.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah,
He's
Bocas
little.
can't be stressed out.
Seamus is little, right? He's like
No,
a
he's
year
big.
old? No, I
He's
meant like
young.
age. Yeah.
He's he's like 8 or 9 months, and this is crazy because once we got news that Mr. Bocas was sick, I was asking like, should we get a kitten so that Bocas can teach the kitten, and then when Bocas passes, because he's really sick, then the kitten will have that spark of Mr. Bocas. And the crazy thing is, around this time, within a month or two of this, Seamus was born, and then lived on our property over the past several months and was living in our garage. And now we have, he's probably 8 to 10 months old. Brought him to the vet, got him shots and got him no fleas, no ticks. He got dewormed, all that good stuff. And he's fat and happy.
Has the cartoonist publicly commented on being demoted to the second Seamus? Or,
Demoted?
Or,
When was he ever the first Seamus?
He was the only Seamus.
Jeez, Hannah
but
Claire.
I assume he was demoted because you didn't, offer him the number one slot, even though he had
wasn't
been around
demoted.
for a while. No, he was just replaced by a cat.
He was D-ranked because he's a thief.
So he was the
Just kidding, Seamus.
It's mostly just a joke. It's mostly.
It's mostly
we
just-
were driving the car.
Mostly.
We were driving the car, and I was calling the cat Mew Mew, and because I was saying Mew Mew to it, and then we were like, we should come up with a name. And then as we're driving to go get food with Seamus, I was like, we're gonna call him Seamus because Seamus is leaving, and I was like, that way when Seamus is gone, we can still say something like, oh no, Seamus pooped on the floor again.
Yeah. In
And
loving
then-
The
memory.
comedy never ends.
Seamus.
Right.
It's fun to say
No,
that.
that's funny.
And then when I was walking outside talking to Allison, I was like, we got to take Seamus to go get his balls cut off. And then Seamus
probably
walks up
felt
and
so
goes,
good
what?
to say.
And I was like, not you. Talking about Seamus 1, not Seamus 2.
Yeah, we should never talk about Seamus too because he leaves. He's flaky. He's into cartoons. He's a weirdo.
Mr. Bocas is actually doing a lot better. I think it's the stem cells.
Yeah, and he's eating a lot more. We're
His kidney function improved. He gained weight.
gonna let the pharmaceuticals go easy on the pharma because they will just be like, hey, here's another pill. Oh, it has side effects. Here's another pill to counter the side effects. But before you take that, here's another pill to counter the side. It's like, dude,
This happens with dogs.
this is a cat.
Okay,
But
yeah.
apparently, just modern veterinary medicine
Well,
is like
look,
pill,
look.
pill, pill,
It's
pill,
all
pill.
pharmaceutical now
Here's-
too.
Yeah, man.
here's what
Stem
happens.
cells are magic. It's like a new
Here's,
technology.
here's what happens with a lot of people, just medicine in general. Someone gets a cough. So they say, take this pill for your cough. The cough causes dehydration. They say, okay, now take this liquid solution for your
the
dehydration.
pill causes dehydration.
Right. And then, the pill causes dehydration. And then they're saying, okay, well, now you got to take this pill to counteract that side effect. And then eventually you're on 7 pills. And you're like, I'm taking all these pills to counteract all the problems from the other pills.
Meanwhile, they're all slowly hurting you in some way. It's just, in my opinion, I don't know enough. I'm not a doctor, but I watch with my own eyes the guy struggling to move around after the 7th pill, and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Let the body heal.
All right. Scheider Alpha says, my favorite Mr. Beast video is, after recent backlash, I will be re-blinding 1,000 people. Like, what do people expect from this dude?
I know.
I think it's great that Mr. Beast's whole brand is like, I'm going to do a really good thing for people to get famous and make money. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like,
That's amazing.
yeah, like, what else should we be doing? Like, I don't know, selling cheeseburgers? It's fine, too, I guess. And he
I
got
mean,
started
like if
grinding.
somebody's gonna get famous, that's a really good reason to be famous.
And
for.
there are like YouTubers who've gotten in trouble for like being like, oh, we're gonna host this competition and it's gonna raise money and we'll donate it to charity, and then they don't.
They're
right?
gonna go
Like,
back in time and be like, we
in some
can't,
ways-
we can't
That's
celebrate
fraud.
Right.
Mother
Well-
Teresa because she helped so many
in some
people
ways,
became famous.
because Mr. Beast films the stuff, like at least there is evidence that he's doing the stuff he says he's gonna do. He's not like telling you a story and there's a lie behind it.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Yeah.
He's not like next week we're gonna. I mean, he just puts out the video, and he also didn't get famous doing this stuff. He got famous grinding 10, 12 hours a day,
Right.
making Minecraft
Yeah,
content.
that's right.
Yep. And then he put that money into doing this great stuff, like paying off his mom's house and being
All right.
yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Beans says, Ian, the moment when you asked Ron Paul if he plays Dungeons and Dragons, that was the pinnacle moment of podcasting. My sides have not yet returned from orbit.
Oh, good. Yeah, I needed to know in order to have the conversation properly.
Yes, yes.
I wonder if he's checked it out since.
Operation Outstanding in Field says, I'm joining the cavalry. I've upgraded to Premium Plus. I'm buying ads 10K now till end of 2024, promoting my GBS and mandated jab videos. Hold the line, X Elon Musk lawsuit on MM. Chris Pavlovsky, Seth Dillon, Timcast the Quartering, Cobra Tate ad buys. Here. Thanks for the super chat.
Nice, dude.
Lethal Strain says, Matt Rife is attacked the same time Ibram X. Kendi's movie comes out on Netflix. Oh, did it? I don't know. Who cares?
Yeah.
That guy's fizzling out. Good. It's a good time. Squidbugs Anonymous says, Millet vowing to dismantle regulation on an already crumbling society seems like a great way to see more corruption, exploitation, economic inequality, and environmental destruction. Nice try. Absolutely not. Cutting all of those costs are going to be great for decentralization to start solving its own problems, which I look forward to. What have we here? Poison Fist says, New York appellate court tossed quarantine camp lawsuit paving the way for government kidnapping, hospitalization, detainment without evidence and diagnosis. Yikes. We saw that bill during COVID where New York said that if they think you're sick, they can just take you and lock you up. Welcome to your brave new world.
Did you see Kathy Hochul's press conference today where she was like, we're going to expand the Division of Homeland Security's, basically she's saying like on college campuses, we're going to have additional training so that we can train students to spot online fiction from online fact and can get better at recognizing conspiracy theories. And it's like, even listening to it, I'm like, this is so dystopian. Who is your speechwriter? This is crazy.
Taking their mask off.
You guys might have a new movie in the works here. Just Kathy Hochul's life.
All right. Katoth Swiss says, you, sir, went to the wrong cheese store. Don't be besmirching Wisconsin's good name.
Here.
Yeah, Wisconsin is the land of cheese, man. Like they have the cheese hats.
Yeah.
You got good stuff going on.
We were driving
Wisconsin.
through and there was a sign that's like, you can buy cheese here. And we just pulled off on this farm and they just had tons of, like, it was amazing.
Amazing.
Uh-huh.
I stopped at a maple farm a couple weeks ago. It was awesome. We got maple everything. It's like an 8th generation maple farm.
Oh, it sounds
crazy.
amazing.
Like going back to the late 1600s or something. Because they were saying that back in the day, maple was how you got sugar.
Yeah.
It was.
That was what you used.
Yeah. So they would make maple sugar by drying it out and then pulverizing it and then
Brown sugar.
And
maple
and
sugar.
Processed white sugar was very expensive back then.
Comes from beets.
Right.
Crazy. All right, everybody, if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. We got a very, very special Thanksgiving members only show coming up for you in just a few minutes. You don't want to miss it. You got to go to timcast.com and click join us. We're going to have a good conversation. We'll disappoint some of you, but you can follow the show at Timcast IRL. You can follow me personally at Timcast. Do you guys want to shout anything out? I think you did several times. The guild, you know.
Yeah, angel.com/Timcast. Join the guild. Also,
angel.com/the shift.
Yep.
Pick up tickets for the movie
tickets,
on December
it's already
1st.
I bought
selling
tickets.
Out. It's already selling out all
Yeah.
over. I saw you buy them right in the middle of the show.
Yeah. We got a bunch. We got some for the crew, so it's
Thank
perfect.
you.
It's Friday, so we're gonna go watch for sure.
Thank you. It's not going to disappoint, but this is a very different movie, meaning you've never seen anything like it.
Right on.
Very cool. Hi, I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for Scanner or scnr.com. I'm really excited to be there, and I'm really proud of the Timcast news crew for converting over. It's been a trial, but very fun. So you can see all the work from me, from Chris Bertman, from the rest of our journalists over there. Same great stuff. Probably even more coming. You should follow at Timcast News on the social medias. Those handles are remaining the same. And yeah, I'm sure there'll be more updates along the way. But I'm really grateful for you guys for checking it out. If you want to follow me personally, I'm on Instagram at hannahclaire.b. I'm on X at HC Brimlow. I can never remember what my handles are. And okay, yeah, happy Thanksgiving, guys.
It's like you're playing with blocks and looking for the right shape piece every time. Not every time.
And my name
but
is so long. To have a double first name, I always forget what it is anyways.
I'm lucky that I branded at Ian Crossland all across the internet. So search, find me, and follow me there. I put out some badass interviews. I interviewed Josie the Redheaded Libertarian today at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on YouTube, X, Rumble, Minds, and Facebook. It was multi-stream, but follow me, subscribe, and check it out, man. And I'll see you guys soon. Awesome to see you guys. I want to tell you that on
see
camera.
You guys,
really good.
and much gratitude to you guys for helping us get Sound of Freedom out there.
Oh, hey man, it is what it is. It's a good movie.
You were a part
we want
of
to
that.
we want to win a culture war, so that means we have to maximize anybody who's winning. I mean, what you guys are doing, we're huge fans of Angel Studios, Public Square, all that stuff has to happen.
This is the resonation and amplification chamber. Welcome aboard.
One piece of it.
Welcome into it. Yes.
All right.
Serge.
I'm Serge.com. I don't have much to say other than if you want to argue with me, please find me on Twix at Serge.com. I will not be on Discord for the near future, I suppose. That said, let's go to the after show, Tim.
We'll see you all over at Timcast.com. Thanks for hanging out.